taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
I'm dying to see what America's going to do to this. I'll use my favorite word again, clusterfuck, 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 clusterfuck.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
To confuse the public about science, to confuse scientists about science. What about...
But guess what? We got a lot to do. You gotta say hi to me. We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
It's a trap.
It actually is a trap.
It's a trap.
I certainly look forward to the science that's produced on this. I just caution you and our friends at CDC that if we kill technology and innovation, which is in essence what some are attempting to do with electronic cigarettes right at the beginning, just stop it, no more, shouldn't be sold, then innovation is not going to play a role in reducing the amount of Americans that smoke. It's just not. And I think it's safe to say that when I look at diabetes today, I look at other things that we would consider a public health epidemic. Innovation is going to give us the ability to do it. I don't think it's going to be by going out and limiting whether they can go to McDonald's and buy a double cheeseburger. And the CDC is not proposing that. It's going to be innovation. It's going to be driving technology. It's going to be coming out with products that allow us to turn around the problem they've got. I think that's what we're talking about here, and I look forward to the work you're doing. Thank you. Thanks.
With my Liberty chicken there, though. Anyway, good evening and welcome to Son of Liberty Radio. Here on the Son of Liberty Radio, Smoke Free Radio, YouTube, Facebook, we're on Twitch, X, and the Rumbles. So we're everywhere. We're trying to get you wherever you're at. We're gonna find you. But yeah, hello. And I see Mallory was the first. She got her little comment on the screen first, and then Jason was in, and Michelle was in, and Steve is in, and let me scroll down here some more. There's some more people here. I saw that Victor was here. Hello, Victor. How are you? Kevin is not here. Michael Redfern is here. So there are some people here, and there's more people creeping in. So, welcome. But we actually have content tonight. This week, I played that little bit of Senator Burr from several years ago in a vaping inquiry, because this week we had another one of those congressional vaping hearing things. Excuse me. And we actually have video, and we're gonna go through some of the testimonies and the comments and the speeches by Blumenthal and Corin and just there's just idiots out there. But and yes, Mallory says it was a clusterfuck, but it is. You know what else clusterfuck occurred? So Kevin is not here. Kevin is away doing Kevin things. So we have not Kevin. So I reached out to Not Kevin earlier, and I said, "Hey, Not Kevin, are you going to be around?" And he's like, "Well, maybe. My wife is not doing so great, and I'm trying to see if she wants to go to the emergency room, and she's being hard-headed and doesn't want to go." And I said, this is when you establish your dominance. You go in there and pound your chest a little bit and hoot and pick her up and throw her in the car and take her to the ER. And he says, "No, I'm not going to do that. She's a veteran of illness, and she'll tell me when it's time to go." But so anyway, since I don't have intro music for Not Kevin, let's just say hello to Not Kevin and get him in here. There's Jason Vapes, who is Not Kevin. Yeah, you gotta establish dominance, man.
Yeah. How's it going?
Same shit, different day. But it's Friday, so
Friday.
are you on call again? Are you on death watch?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Not on death watch, huh? That's all right.
No.
That's all right.
No. Yeah. No.
That's
No,
good. That means that, you can be here for a while. We're gonna, I said to not Kevin before we went live that, we've got content. We're gonna try to book through this stuff. There's some stuff that we're not gonna be able to rush through, but we're probably not gonna do a Rumble only portion tonight. We're gonna see how fast, not fast, but we're gonna do the show, and then afterwards I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna watch the Venture Brothers for a little while. But
yes. Good deal. Good plan.
We do have content, and in a little while, I'll throw the link in the chat room if anybody else wants to come in and react to the nonsense that we're reacting to and reading tonight. But right now, let's get a little started here. I got a piece here, not Kevin, from Filter Magazine, because we love Filter Magazine. And it was actually written by our very good friend. The cat is trying to eat your face. You see that, right?
That's so funny.
What was the cat trying to fuck your face? What was going on with the cat there? It looked like he was trying to skull fuck you in the ear or something.
He loves me.
Did he eat your headphone out of your ear? I don't.
No, he was trying. He was trying.
Out of the left ear.
Mm-mm.
Don't see it.
I don't have one.
It's gone.
Yeah, he swallowed it.
It's not there no more.
Yeah.
But our very good friend Lindsay Stroud, who we pick on a little bit, but I've seen her drunk, and I can tell you, she's a hoot when she's drunk. She doesn't remember anything that you talked about when she's drunk, but still a great person. But anyway, we want to read this because tonight I named the show Killer Herpes Vapes.
I took my vax tonight.
Yeah, so
herpes vax.
Tonight we're going to talk about Killer Herpes Vapes. But anyway, so the WHO has made a declaration about vapes that are designed to kill.
Ooh.
So let's scroll down here. There's a little, there's a picture of the World Health Organization logo. And a quote that says, "What looks cute, smells good, but is designed to kill?" asked the World Health Organization in a June 11th tweet. A vape. So they're claiming that the vapes are designed to kill. This joke format falsehood from our planet's premier health agency is far from comic. I have to say, not Kevin, that I don't really consider the World Health Organization the world's premier health organization.
No.
Call me crazy, but they seem more like the world's leading propaganda agency right now.
I consider a high school science class more of a health authority than the World Health Organization.
Right, but I mean, their mission is to spread health, information and efforts to help people become healthy. And I'm helping my wife right now. She's taking a class, and this week she wrote a paper on health literacy. And obviously the information shows that people that and we already know this on this show, that people in higher socioeconomic areas have better access to information about health, and obviously people that are more highly educated have the ability to decipher and interpret complex health information. So the World Health Organization here in America and in the larger developed world, The World Health Organization really doesn't have the impact here that it does, say, in other countries, especially middle and low economic, countries.
Right.
So it is quite interesting, to see the health literacy numbers and the essentially the fact that the people that the World Health Organization has the most impact on are still the ones that have the lowest health literacy.
Terrible. Their track record is terrible.
Yeah. So anyway, it says here, the WHO and its regional offices and partners persist in outrageously misleading governments and consumers. Thanks to this orchestrated moral panic, many of the world's adults who smoke are denied harm reduction alternatives, either because of resulting laws or because they've been deceived about relative risks. So, not Kevin. While I was doing the Googles, I was exercising my Google food tonight to find, because I didn't actually do the digging that I normally do during the week. I waited until this afternoon. I came home. I found about 15 or 20 articles. Actually, it was probably about 30 articles, and I weaned it down to what we have. But there were multiple stories this week from the Philippines, for example, with pulmonologists and regional health leaders all making absurd, non-scientific claims about how deadly vaping is. And they were essentially parroting WHO talking points.
So they're check cleared.
Yes. Yes, that would be it. So anyway, here's another quote. It says, none of this is surprising anymore. In 2024, the WHO has earned a whole string of community notes for misleading vape-related tweets. And I know a lot of people are hypercritical about what tweet or X or whatever you want to call it has become. I enjoy X. I don't have a problem with X, but there are a lot of people that are very upset because the regular public has access and the ability now to community note when they see a lie.
Right.
I think a lot of people that the previous blue check marks before the ability to people like me to pay $8 a month so I can get that edit button. But also, as an added bonus of the edit button, I get a little blue check mark. But the previous people that had to, be famous and some sort of, rich status, could get that X mark or the blue check mark.
Movie star or a musician or, yeah.
Yeah, those people are butthurt now because regular folks can community note them.
Us commoners.
Yeah, the peons. I mean, literally, I admit that I paid for the blue check mark, and I'm not gonna lie, specifically for that edit button.
Right.
Specifically for that edit.
Specifically.
So if I typed specifically, it would say, "Hey, yo, I think you mean specific."
You effed up.
Because I also have Grammarly. So now Grammarly tries to fix my grammar
before you hit post. Yeah.
Before I hit post, but if I fuck up, I can go back and edit and fix my fuck up. That's the only reason I pay for the blue check mark. I don't get any extra traction out of it. I did get a tweet a while ago. I think when I first started paying the $8, I think that I might have filled out the monetization application, even though I don't have nearly as many followers on Twitter as I should. I did get a denial letter this week or whatever saying, "Hey, you didn't give us enough information to say yes or no, so resubmit your application." It really
gives us your bank account number to deposit your check into.
They already got my debit card. They could just,
Yeah, just add it to that.
Yeah. So anyway, take a recent e-cigarette briefer from the Western Pacific region of the WHO, which combines cherry-picked factoids and misinformation. ignoring adults who smoke, despite over 7 million annual smoking-related deaths among them. The document focuses solely on children who may vape, though less often than claimed, but are not losing their lives. Anyway, this became par for the course with the WHO, as demonstrated at the FCTC COP10 meeting in February. FCTC Secretariat head Adriana Blanco Marquizo dismissed the lives of over 1 billion adults, arguing that their access to tobacco harm reduction should never serve as a justification for legitimizing products that could send even a single child down the road of addiction. So I've asked this question over the years, Kevin, not Kevin.
Right.
Hey, Nick Orlando's here.
Hey,
about where is the line? So according to this chick from the WHO, even if one child gets hooked on vaping, it doesn't matter that it would save 1 billion people. One child outweighs 1 billion people.
They sacrifice more kids sending them to public school.
Well, I mean, they obviously are sacrificing them to the gods of sexual abuse, but
Right? Yeah, that's a death.
This week somebody, I am a subpar Catholic, but I constantly see people like this week. Apparently the Pope made a social gaffe and said a word that upsets a certain group of people, and I don't even know why it came across my feed, but somebody posted about this topic and made a comment in their tweet about, and it could be just because I've been tweeting so much pedophilia stuff on my X that that it came across my feed, and they were saying, y'all need to deal with, first they said F the Pope, and then they said y'all need to deal with all your diddling priests or whatever. And I responded to that person. I was like, hey, I just skimmed your timeline, and there's tons of anti-Catholic tweets on here, but I don't see one single tweet where you show any concern over the fact that 10% of all kids in U.S. public schools, 10% are going to be raped, fondled, groped by a teacher, which is 100% more than the number of children that are abused by a priest. Obviously, any form of sexual child abuse is awful and should be condemned, and the violator should be handled violently and appropriately. But all these people, and then I got a bunch of "how dare you say anything bad about teacher" responses.
That's rich.
Yeah,
that's really rich.
Yeah, but anyway, back to the WHO, who probably also is responsible for diddling little kids. Recommending bans or restrictions, the WPR document also claims that vaping products sometimes contain harmful chemicals at levels higher than in tobacco smoke, which is utterly misleading. When the dose makes the poison, the vapor is exponentially safer than smoke, and that's that. There's insufficient evidence to support vape's population level effectiveness for smoking cessation, which is also plainly false. And then the WPR was recently hit with a community note for a tweet listing debunked dangers of vaping, but none of this is surprising anymore. In 2024, the WHO has earned a whole string of community notes for misleading vaping-related tweets, as Skip Murray described for Filter. Until 2023, the WHO's narrative centered on the so-called youth vaping epidemic in the United States. Public health agencies, including the US FDA and CDC, declared this epidemic in 2018. At its peak in 2019, 20% of U.S. youth reported vaping in the past 30 days. A total of current users, inclusive of those who vape just once in a month, So if you were a kid and you just glanced at a vape, you got put on that list.
You were counted as a member. Right?
You were
a daily user if you looked at
you
one
were a
once.
habitual user. You're like the headlines always say, kids can't even make it through a single class without jonesing for their vape.
No
By
shit, they're worried about their
2023
janitor fucking with them.
Well, I'm not worried about the janitor. I'm worried about the history teacher.
Whoever.
By 2023, this figure had dropped by 61.5% to just 7.7%. In the face of this decline, the WHO has turned elsewhere in its bid to exaggerate youth vaping trends. And we're going to cover some of this stuff again later.
Okay.
Orlando wants to know how many people are in the well, there's about 14 people in there. They just ain't talking, Orlando.
Yeah. Come on, Nick.
A lot of people that are on there don't. I think they don't know how to use the chat feature. Because every time Fig is in Rumble, like he thinks that he's chatting, but he's leaving a comment on the video.
Yeah.
So
and I found you have to go to a web page, a regular website to register to actually get access to chat. Yeah.
Raj is here now too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna. Some of this is gonna be covered again later in the Senate hearing video.
Okay.
All these made up figures, and I want to say that again, people in other parts of the world really hold up the World Health Organization. They really hold up like the United Nations. We're a lot more jaded here in America. A lot of people don't really understand what those two organizations, the World Health Organization, these globalist organizations, we'll just call them that, are for. And I will say, in Africa and other countries in Southeast Asia and Central and South America, the UN and the World Health Organization, they do a lot of work in those parts of the world that we really don't. We don't see because they don't feel like they need to deal with the
same. Well, we don't deal with the same problems that they have.
And they just want us to pay for all that stuff.
Right.
And they want us to sign their treaties so that in the occasion where there's an opportunity for them to snatch power, well, they're going to try that. I mean, that's what they, were attempting to do with their pandemic treaty. Thank God it didn't ever, get passed. And, obviously treaties have to be ratified by Congress, usually. But if the President of the United States signs that treaty, it essentially becomes an executive order.
Essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would have to go through the Supreme Court, even though Congress technically is the constitutionally assigned body for treaty authority.
Right.
Yeah.
But, it would be.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny this week that the World Health Organization just said that vapes are designed to kill. Designed to kill.
They're designed to kill.
Yeah,
World Health Organization.
Here's the thing. What looks cute, smells good, but is designed to kill? A vape. That's according to the World Health Organization. If it was me and I was the World Health Organization, I'd probably be talking about Zika virus or malaria or, any number of things that actually kill millions of people or at least negatively impact the health of millions of people.
Yeah, right.
But no, they're just going to go after,
nicotine
vapes. And Steve has it right over here. He says designed to kill smoking. I stand by your statement, Steve. But
designed to kill tax dollars.
Well, that's the other thing is that, The government's losing money for sure. For sure.
For sure.
Oh, you'll love this. You'll love this headline, not Kevin.
Oh, God.
Let me make sure I got the pop-ups. I knew there was a pop-up here. All right. There. So I've already pre-rubbed it, so it's ready to go. Let's present. Let's present this. Oh, I'm sorry. Alexa says she doesn't know that one. All right. So it says here, teen nearly dies after vaping equivalent of 400 cigarettes that causes his lung to collapse. Or her.
For how long
Kyla.
a period of time?
Well, I don't know, but it says Kyla Blight. Her name is Blight. Blight. Not Kevin.
Sounds British.
Blight, like famine, like blight, like disease.
Yeah, blight, right.
Yeah, blight. Kyla Blight, 17, was rushed to hospital after she collapsed in the early hours of the 11th of May, and a hole in her lung caused by vaping was discovered. A terrified dad has recounted the harrowing experience of his teenage daughter nearly losing her life when a vaping habit led to a lung collapse. Mark Blight was thrown into panic when he had to rush Kyla Blight to the hospital in the wee hours of May 11th after she collapsed and turned blue at a sleepover. The 17-year-old narrowly avoided a cardiac arrest and underwent a 5.5-hour surgery to remove part of her lung, followed by a 2-week hospital stay before she could go home. It's believed that Kyla's intense vaping caused a pulmonary bleb on her lung to burst, resulting in the collapse.
Vaping what? It doesn't say.
Well, no, it's not
conflating. They're conflating.
Yeah. Starting to vape at just 15, so she was breaking the law, Kyla consumed a 4,000 puff vape weekly, equating to smoking 400 cigarettes. Despite initially thinking it was harmless, Kyla has now been scared straight, swearing off disposable vapes for good, reports Gloucestershire Live. It's definitely British.
Yep.
Gloucestershire. Yeah. Full-time carer Mark has since taken to Facebook to warn others of the life-threatening dangers of vaping, imploring the youth to ditch their vapes as it's not worth it. Living in Cumbria, UK, the father of 9, holy shit, dude, 9 kids. I've been to hell and back with Kyla over the last couple weeks. I just put it down to vaping. They can't put it down to anything but vaping. That's caused this. She was at a friend's house and got a phone call at 4 a.m. that she had collapsed and gone blue. I went round for her. So if my kid, and I don't have any kids, but if I did have a kid and they were staying at a sleepover at a friend's house and someone called me and said, "Hey, your kid is turning blue," I would say, call 911.
Right.
And get them in a fucking ambulance. This guy decides to drive round and take her to the ER. All that time that you're, loading her into the car and driving, she could be actually receiving life-saving care from a, EMT or paramedic. It's going to cost you a couple dollars. But in the UK, I think it's free, right? Yeah. So anyway, what did he say? I got a call, blah, blah, blah. I went round for her. She took her down to we took her down to the hospital. Her lung collapsed this time due to the hole they put in a drain. They put a drain in her. She's a little girl who doesn't like needles. She screamed she was close to having a cardiac arrest. They rushed us into Newcastle and she had an operation on Tuesday. It was a 5.5-hour operation. She had a seizure on the operating table. I was talking to the surgeon and he was saying that these blebs blebs that can form in the lungs. They think it is the throwaway vapes that burst these blebs and punctured a hole in her lungs. Apparently, it's a big thing now. Blebs.
Okay, I assume that you've seen plenty of autopsies in your medical.
I have performed many postmortem examinations.
Okay, so have you seen any holes in lungs caused from any type of intrusion of vapor, or except maybe fumes or gasoline, maybe?
I have seen chemical exposure, burns in lungs,
acid,
different things like that. I mean, obviously, some chemical agents in the jungles when I was in Central and South America have negative effects on the lungs and on the skin.
I don't even think that spontaneous pneumothorax, which somebody mentioned in the chat, would be
no, it wouldn't. A spontaneous pneumothorax does not put a hole in the lung. Actually, the solution to a spontaneous pneumothorax is putting a hole in the lung.
A hole in the lung, yeah, let it reinflate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, no, it's not that. It's definitely if there's a hole in the lung that doesn't have a piercing injury on the external part of the body, it is definitely some sort of chemical exposure, or, I mean, if you overexpanded someone's lungs and then hit them,
take a big rip,
a traumatic,
and punch them in the gut. Yeah,
right.
Probably could punch
you have to see the mechanism of injury, but
vaping
could be chemical exposure, could be that black market THC vape that is not legal in the UK, and this 15-year-old young lady may have been falsifying her self-reporting. We've discussed the untrustworthiness of self-reporting, especially with young people who are afraid that they will get in trouble. But I'm not going to read the whole damn thing. I just wanted you to see that
bunch of BS.
The deadly designed to kill headline, teen nearly dies with a hole in the lung headline. But hey, we got a positive headline. This is a brand new positive headline just published today.
I believe
so. Yeah, most of the stuff we're discovering tonight are just today's stuff. I found so much stuff just from today's date. There was no reason to jump too far down the hole to get content for the show tonight. But you'll love this one. This is actually quite good, and I wish Tony would have had this when he was in front of Congress. But it says here, oh look, I need this watch right here. Somebody give me $541 so I can buy this watch.
He's watch shopping.
These are Japanese exclusive watches. So Seiko only. There are certain models of Seiko and Citizen and Orient and a bunch of other brands that are Japan only exclusives, and this Discovery Japan site actually allows you to import them. I'm just showing you that in case you like watches. So anyway, restricting flavored vapes could harm smoking cessation efforts, finds study. So, yeah. Yeah. So let's scroll down here. Restricting the choice of flavored vapes, also known as e-cigarettes, could have an adverse effect on many adults who use them to reduce or quit smoking, according to a new University of Bristol-led study published in the journal Harm Reduction. Over the years, not Kevin, the Harm Reduction Journal has been one of my go-to journals for vaping. Before the Royal College of Physicians put out their expansive review, the Journal of Harm Reduction also did a quite exhaustive review, And since it was from an American, not a British health agency, but a, pretty much an not focusing on just one, a lot of politicians, because we used to hear all the time, well, yeah, that in the UK that might be true, but their usage patterns are different than in America, and we can't use that as information in America because it's just different. But if I use the Journal of Harm Reduction, which also had a quite exhaustive review, I could say this is not just the UK. This is international.
Right.
This is a review of, at the time, all of the available research on vaping. There was like something close to like 50 studies in the review, and they couldn't really use that same argument. Obviously, they still ignored it, but they had to come up with a new argument. But anyway, in March-April of 2023, the proportion of children experimenting with vaping had grown by 50% year on year, from 1 in 13 to 1 in 9. Concerns about children becoming hooked on vapes has led the UK government to consider banning flavors to make them less attractive to young people. Some countries have already restricted the sale of flavored e-liquids, allowing only tobacco and menthol flavors. While these restrictions aim to reduce the appeal of vaping, they may affect adults who use vaping to stop smoking. In this study, researchers aimed to understand how UK adults who smoke or used to smoke and now vape feel about unflavored liquids and how potential flavor restrictions might affect them. The team recruited 24 adults ranging in age from 19 to 62. Of these, 12 adults smoked daily and 12 adults vaped daily, but had stopped smoking within a year prior to the study, as daily vaping is strongly associated with smoking cessation. The group included 2 adults who smoked 20 or more cigarettes per day and 2 adults who vaped but used to smoke 20 or more cigarettes a day. So anyway, participants were asked to use unflavored vape for 4 hours instead of their usual flavored e-liquid. They were then asked to complete a survey and participate in an online interview, giving their thoughts on whether they would be tempted to use them again. Results found the participants had mixed opinions about unflavored e-liquids. While some felt unaffected by the lack of flavors, others thought it led them back to smoking. Many of the participants described the unflavored liquids as unenjoyable and thought they were all right, or thought that they were all right. So let's talk about unflavored e-liquids.
Are they talking about tobacco flavor?
No, they're talking about unflavored e-liquids. No flavoring at all. PG, VG, and nicotine. So the thing about, Michael Redfern says it's boring. But unflavored e-liquid still has a sweetness to it,
right? Because
of the carriers. So
PG.
It's not completely there is a little sweetness to it. It's not super great. But it is one of the highest selling e-liquids in the world. So you can buy
them selling clear a lot, which is like unflavored with a touch of Lada or something that clears your palate. I see that now.
Now, one of our friends, who is one of the largest e-liquid manufacturers in Canada, says that he sells somewhere around 150,000 bottles of unflavored e-liquid per month.
Are they adding their own flavors to it when they get it, or what?
Some people vape it, and some people do flavor shots into it. Okay. And Victor says that he stocks and sells unflavored to my customers. So yes. So there's no might, Mallory. PG or VG, excuse me, is essentially a sugar, and if you have higher quality nicotine, you don't get that peppery note. You only get that peppery note with old, cheap nicotine.
Oxidized, yeah.
Yeah. Not all nicotine has that peppery taste. Just, slapping that out there for you, Mal. Because what I get is like what they call the premium, and it's got a slight tint to it, but it is virtually clear. And obviously I freeze it so it doesn't darken. Once it starts to oxidize, it might become peppery, but I never let it get there. When it first comes in, I freeze it. So anyway, results found that participants had mixed opinions. I already read that. Overall, while many participants thought flavors played a crucial role in their vaping behavior, especially in trying to quit smoking, other factors like nicotine dependence and social influences giving vaping's trending image, I don't ever thought it was trendy, and health perceptions were noted as important drivers. Participants in this study generally believe a flavor ban would negatively impact smoking cessation efforts more than it would prevent young people from vaping. No, because the black market is always going to be there.
They're always going to provide what you want.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Michelle says that her husband only vapes unflavored because he can't taste anything anyway, because he had a stroke.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and there is a DOI number. So if I click on it and share it, it's actually in the BMJ Harm Reduction Journal. Boom. It is it open? Yeah, it's open access. So you don't even have to pay for it. It's right there. I always like that. Here, I'm gonna copy the link for y'all, and I'm gonna slap it into the YouTube chat. How about that? So you guys can actually see the actual study, and not just the newspaper article talking about the study. There you go. So that was relatively positive.
Yes, it was.
Young man.
I'm cleaning coils. Sorry.
Cleaning coils?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, here we go, Kev. Or not Kev. You'll love this one.
Oh, God. What?
This one you'll love. Well, remember, tonight's show. Here, pussy, 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 pussy. Oh, no.
Cat butt in your face. Yeah, cat.
Yeah, we called tonight's show, was it Killer Herpes Vapes?
Right.
Right. So, we got oh, there's the pussy again.
Yeah.
So, we got this story here from the Mirror with another watch advertisement. No thanks. It says, woman develops herpes-like ulcers after vaping for 12 months, leaving her unable to eat. After her year-long vaping binge, the woman was diagnosed with a condition that rarely affects the mouth, and it isn't known to be caused by electronic cigarettes, because it's not. A woman, I'm quite wondering where this woman was vaping. To get herpes-like wounds in her mouth.
Terrible.
Anyway,
was she vaping like 36 or 50?
I vaped 36. I vaped 36 for a long time, and I never developed wounds in my mouth.
No, me neither.
I think maybe her boyfriend might be referring to his part that had scabbies on it.
Oh,
as a vape, and said, "Hey, vape this baby." And I'll make sure you pick the scabs off before you start.
Oh, gross!
I know that's gross. I apologize. I really do. No, I don't. A woman who had been vaping for only 12 months developed dry bleeding sores in her mouth, leading her to struggle to eat and drink. Doctors at the Department of Oral Medicine in Bandung, Indonesia, thought the woman had herpes, but after assessment, they concluded the ulcers in her mouth were caused by her vaping habit. And Fig says, he came in at pick the scabs off. That's great.
Oh, gross, yeah.
But after assessment, they concluded ulcers the woman sought medical help after suffering for a month, by which time she had crusts across her lips and a sore spot on the right corner of her mouth that often cracked and bled. There were also yellowish ulcers coating the inside of her mouth, cheek, and tongue. In a paper published by the International Medical Case Reports Journal, one of the medics wrote she was a healthy individual, and before this condition appeared, she had no history of taking medications. The woman was tested for herpes, but the test came back negative. Her body was also checked for other sores, but there were none. The doctors were able to make a diagnosis, concluding the patient was suffering from oral erythema multiforme, skin condition considered to be an allergic reaction to an infection or some medicines, most likely caused by vaping. The medic said the condition appears to be related to an allergy to vaping in an active vape user, which has never been recorded, making it a rare. Which has never been recorded, making it a rare case. Is that not like repetitive?
Wait, Indonesia, didn't they just legalize vaping?
Yeah.
It was illegal.
Yeah, well, not like a year ago. About a year ago.
Yeah, under
It's about a year
or whatever. Yeah, it was all illegal.
No, Duterte's Philippines.
Duterte's
Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's Marcos is in charge now in the Philippines. But anyway, it says that she's allergic to vaping in an blah blah blah, making it has never been recorded, making it a rare case. It's never been recorded because it's the first of its kind. So therefore, you don't even have to put it's rare because it's. But I still believe that it's probably. Oh, look, there's pictures. Yeah, they need to swab the shit out of that and send it for.
Oh God.
So Mallory, you cannot be allergic to PG. PG is it is hypoallergenic. You cannot be allergic to PG. You might be sensitive to PG, but you cannot be allergic to PG because it is hypoallergenic.
Now VG, depending on where it's derived from.
Right. So if because VG is vegetable based, it is natural. So if you have a food allergy to the source material, maybe. I don't. Oh, Fig says I don't have to show this on the screen. Well, I want people to see what we're talking about. Does that bother you, Fig? Yeah. So she had lesions in her mouth there, Jason.
Gross.
It is pretty gross. Yeah. There's some watches. But yeah, I just thought I'd show that one to you. Speaking of things that might make you have an allergic reaction, Jason.
Okay.
We have video from Congress.
Oh God.
We have video from Congress, and it is again. Now, I want to preface this by saying, Michelle said that she was blocking the pics with her hand like that. She's in a phone, so she's covering half her screen apparently. But the entire YouTube video that I found of this situation was over 2 hours long, and I trimmed it down to about 50 minutes. But we're gonna skip from here to there. But obviously Tony Abood was there, so we're gonna play Tony because Tony has been on our show. He's a friend of the show. We have cordial relations. I haven't spoken to him. I messaged him today to say, I saw your testimony. You did a good job. Blah blah blah.
You did a good job.
We're gonna show it on our show tonight. But then I noticed that I hadn't talked to him in almost 3 years, so it's been a while. But anyway, let's bring this up. This is Dick Durbin, and it was supposed to be Ashley Graham, I think, but not Ashley Graham, Lindsey Graham.
Lindsay,
but
Lapdog Lindsay. Yeah.
Lindsay was unavailable to be the head Republican, so they got the guy from North Carolina to come on. So, yeah, let's go over this real quick.
Cigarettes are responsible for more than 480,000 deaths per year.
Now, I do want to say that 480,000 number has not changed. As far as I know, that's the same number that they've been using for the last 10 years.
Right.
I don't believe I've heard any estimates or adjustments to that number in the last decade. But anyway, let's keep going.
These deaths touch virtually every family in this country, including my own. This hearing is part of my continued effort in Congress to stop these needless deaths, particularly the addiction of children. We have made progress, and the tobacco giants have fought back. That's why we're here today.
Now, the tobacco giants wouldn't even appear. Altria, Japan, America, none of them. Philip Morris, nobody showed up.
British American, yeah.
Yeah, none of them. None of them showed up. None of them.
Year 2000, 28% of high school students smoked cigarettes. Thanks to the efforts of Congress and the public health community, that number has declined to only 2%.
Thank you, vaping.
From 28% to 2% of high school students today. But anyone who thought big tobacco would accept this trend and dissipate like a cloud of smoke was mistaken. Instead,
now, I don't think this guy actually understands the impact, the financial if they shut down every tobacco manufacturer in the United States and said you're no longer allowed to do business, the massive amount of money that this would cost the federal government and the states.
In each state, yep.
This guy, either A, he knows and he's just being disingenuous and he doesn't really, he really doesn't care about your kids, but he has to get on camera and act like he's, doing a job, but billions and billions and billions of dollars would disappear out of our economy overnight if they just announced tomorrow, from this day forward, no more tobacco is allowed to be sold in the United States. Farms would go out of business. Convenience stores would lose a lot of fucking revenue. Independent tobacco retailers, processors, all the people that work for the tobacco manufacturers lose their jobs. It would be horrible for our economy. Now, our economy is already pretty shitty right now, but,
They rebranded and introduced new products known as e-cigarettes. And they follow the same...
Oh, and obviously, e-cigarettes was invented by Big Tobacco.
He says e-cigarettes like he's a Baptist deacon or something.
Well, he might be. Yeah, Figgy's right. It's trillions of dollars. I stand corrected. Yes, it is probably orders of magnitude higher than what I even estimate. I just was throwing that out there without actually doing any calculation.
Playbook, the exact same playbook they successfully used to drive sales of Marlboro and Camel cigarettes in the earlier years. Target kids. Thanks to the addictive nature of nicotine, these companies knew, they've known a long time, if they could just hook a child at a young age, they had a customer for life.
Now, I won't deny that in the 60s, the 70s, even before, we have Gerlitz essentially saying that that's what the Big Tobacco, his paymasters at Big Tobacco when he worked for them, told him. So we do know that they specifically wanted to get young boys addicted because they would be customers for life. So we know that. So I'm not, he's not lying when he said that. So, I went that. Yeah. You throw in health cost Fig. Yeah. Pharmaceutical companies would go belly up.
It started with Juul. backed by
And it didn't start with Juul. Vaping had been around for about 10 years. Well, not 10 years. 6 years before Juul even, came on the market. So that's bullshit.
$13 billion from tobacco giant Altria.
And they didn't get their Altria money until they'd already been in business for about 4 years. So that's, again, disingenuous.
In a partnership which the American Heart Association has characterized as a match made in tobacco heaven, I would say tobacco hell. The company introduced flashy devices, kid-friendly flavors, and advertisements featuring young, attractive people.
Well, who's going to hire old, ugly people to be in their advertisements?
Did Meredith write this?
I mean, nobody's going to hire Jason or I to be their spokespeople.
No.
That unleashed a wave of nicotine addiction that then FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb described in 2018 as an epidemic, with more than 5 million teens reported that they were using e-cigarettes. The FDA and the Justice Department has the tools to prevent this epidemic. They have failed to use them. The Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act requires e-cigarette companies to get FDA authorization before bringing products to market. Authorization can only be granted if the companies making the product first prove that their products are, quote, appropriate for the protection of public health, end quote. But for years, under both Democratic and Republican administrations, FDA ignored its responsibility until public health groups actually had to sue the agency to force it to do its job and protect our kids. In that court case, the U.S. District Court in Maryland found that the FDA was in fact violating the Tobacco Control Act and ordered the agency to complete its review of e-cigarette applications by September the 9th, 2021. That was 33 months ago, almost 3 years. FDA still has not completed its review. Almost 3 years later, still has not completed its review. After the court-ordered deadline passed on September 9th, 2021, FDA could have ordered every single unauthorized e-cigarette off the market, and that's what it should have done, and as the law clearly intends. Instead, thousands of unauthorized e-cigarettes flooded the markets.
So I just wanted to say hello to our very good friend Chris Garland, who has appeared in the chat. Hello, Chris.
Chris.
He's going through this timeline where he likes to blame people, but it gets worse. The blaming gets really worse here when he actually starts talking to Brian King. It's crazy. But yeah, let's keep going.
Flavors like Blue Raz Ice, Strawberry Watermelon Bubble Gum, and Cotton Candy, designed and effectively addicting millions of children in America.
Now, the one disappointment I get out of this hearing is the fact that when flavors come up repeatedly during this hearing, Brian King is aware. He's been handed the science that shows, and the surveys that show that adults enjoy things that don't taste like tobacco. My one criticism of Tony's testimony is when it's brought up about flavors, that he doesn't defend flavors, knowing, because the only argument that these assholes make on this is that, well, you can't tell me that this is not marketing to kids. Well, yes, I can, because it's marketing to adults, because adults like things that taste good too, Senator. Do you not like Rocky Road ice cream? Do you not like chocolate ice cream? Do you not keep butterscotches on your desk at work, or jelly beans, or any other kinds of candy at your desk?
Right.
When you buy bubble gum, do you not get candied flavor chewing gum or a breath mint or any of those things? Yes. Nobody even, I mean, they agree with him. Tony agrees with him when he asks about flavors. That's my only criticism of Tony. But yeah, I mean, we have the data. I mean, we got like 70,000 people responding to a flavor survey. So we have a pretty nice chunk size of data that's been submitted to the FDA. So Brian King has access to that information. So yeah. Oh.
Out of smoke in tobacco products to market. Sue the agency to tools to prevent this epidemic. They have failed to use them. The Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act requires e-cigarette companies to get FDA authorization before bringing products to market.
Oh, and the other thing is when he's grilling Tony later about that particular subject, Tony did good. Fig, I'm not yelling at Tony. There's a second point. Is that this gets brought up again about products being on the market, breaking the rules of the PMTA process. Well, nobody mentions that a lot of these products, not all of them, a lot of these products were on the market prior to the PMTA process even being announced. Yeah. So obviously that could have been brought up too. Oh, well, and Brian King doesn't. I mean, Brian King is throwing out the number of applications. Oh, we've got 27 million applications or something like that. And some of these products were already on the market before the process. Nobody brings that up. So yeah, that was another thing that I was because I watched this when I was clipping it to shorten it. I cut a whole hour and 10 minutes out of it, and it's still 50 minutes long. We're not going to listen. We're going to zip through some of this, but I thought that was kind of a lost opportunity.
Authorization can only be granted if the companies making the product first prove that their products are, quote, appropriate for the protection of public health, end quote. But for years, under both Democratic and Republican administrations, FDA ignored its responsibility until public health groups actually had to sue the agency to force it to do its job and protect our kids. In that court case, the U.S. District Court in Maryland found that the FDA was in fact violating the Tobacco Control Act and ordered the agency to complete its review of e-cigarette applications by September the 9th, 2021. That was 33 months ago, almost 3 years. FDA still has not completed its review. Almost 3 years later, still has not completed its review. After the court-ordered deadline passed on September 9th, 2021, FDA could have ordered every single unauthorized e-cigarette off the market, and that's what it should have done, and as the law clearly intends. Instead, thousands of unauthorized e-cigarettes flooded the markets.
So, again, he is suggesting that it would be just very easy, the FDA should have gotten to that deadline and then immediately ordered every product off the market. It's so simple.
But we have states' rights. What if a state...
No, well, it's not even a question of that. It's what do you think would fucking happen if, I'm going to throw this out there, even though Fig's in the chat room. Fig used to own a vape shop in Oceanside, California. Very nice shop. I was there. If Fig was in business and had thousands and thousands of dollars worth of inventory at the time when the FDA announced that everybody would just have to close their doors and no product would be allowed to... What do you think would have happened with all of that product that was already on store shelves?
It would continue to be sold.
A vast majority of those products would make it onto the gray or black market, and then you just reduce state opportunities to collect tax money off of the sales of those products. And obviously that creates the open door because those people that had vape shops that were just, trying to pay their fucking bills that are stuck in leases now. Now we're talking about people that are trying to follow the rules. They got vape shops Whoop, almost lost my drink there. Vape shops that are legal one day, next day you're not allowed to do business anymore. But you're stuck in a multi-year lease that you can't get out of, even though the government just banned every product that you sold.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that happened to Skip. That happened to our friends. Or something very, very nearly in that category. So yeah.
Flavors like Blue Raz Ice, Strawberry Watermelon Bubble Gum, and Cotton Candy, designed and effectively addicting millions of children in America. Let me be clear. Despite claims...
He's saying these names like he's expecting to hear gasps from the gallery. Right,
Yeah.
Blue Raz Ice.
Let's go. Let's clutch our pearls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I guarantee you that there are people in that audience. There are people up on that dais, the fucking Congress people, that have candy on their desks, that are like Chris in the chat room, that's addicted to high quality chocolates. That go to Ghirardelli or guys on that DS that have sherbet ice cream in their fucking freezer, strawberry ice cream in their freezer. But those flavored products are only for kids, because only kids like things like that.
Nancy
That's
Pelosi's
ridiculous.
Corona.
We have a chain that just recently opened here called Cheesecake Factory. Not Kevin. And they sell somewhere around 50 different flavored cheesecakes. Chocolate,
Yeah, we have one of those.
strawberries, and, all sorts of berries and yada, yada, yada. And Fig says there are people in that room that are probably buying black market mango jewels. No doubt.
Probably so, yeah.
Southern Vapor Michelle in the chat room, she's got chocolate chip mint cream in her vape right now, and she's not a kid. I'm not going to say that. She says that she's only 29. I'm not going to laugh. But yeah, we need to create a meme just for him of like a picture of the Cheesecake Factory
menu
case with all the different, because later on they hold up a fucking
card,
like a big poster of flavored vapes, flavored disposable vapes. But yeah, we need to take a picture of the case at the Cheesecake Factory with the 50 different flavors of cheesecake, and say all adults are banned from this store because only kids like things that taste good. Something like that.
I'll make it and I'll tag you in it.
Where's my memers? I need memers to create that meme.
I got you.
All right, but let's keep going here.
From Big Tobacco, there is zero evidence that e-cigarettes and their fruity flavors are targeted at adults. None. No.
How in the fuck would you want to prove that? There's no evidence that shows that these flavors are targeted towards adults. How? Other than showing you a fucking survey with 77,000 people that say that they like flavors. I mean, I don't know any other way.
They're in the shock and awe of the bombing of Iraq. I'm
gonna have to clip this, and then I'm like, how do you want to prove this? I mean, are you telling me that you only eat unflavored oatmeal for 3 meals a day?
Oh God, he does.
Or cream of wheat.
Oh man.
Ozempic. There's another Ozempic joke.
Evidence. In fact, the rate of e-cigarette use is nearly twice as high for middle school students as it is for adults. Today.
So now he's saying twice as many kids vape as adults.
Bullshit. There's not even twice. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fucking old man.
Chris is on fire, and Chris is a comedian. Chris needs to record one of his stand-up routines so that we can watch it on YouTube?
Yes.
I'm releasing the findings from an NIH-funded Monitoring the Future study. One of the country's...
Oh, no, Michelle. Potato soup has bacon in it. The way my mama makes it, at least. So he can't even have potato soup. Because my mama puts broccoli and bacon and cheese in her potato soup. So.
Preeminent public health surveys. The researchers there estimate that 2.1 million children have picked up vaping since the Food and Drug Administration missed its September 2021 court-imposed deadline. 2.1 million new children addicted.
Now, how the fuck are you getting that data? The vaping number went down.
Why doesn't he
It's
just
down by
defund?
61%?
Yeah.
How can you say that there are more? Because you're gonna, he's using monitoring the future.
He just needs to defund the FDA. Old Dick Durbin does.
Here we go. This is the other guy, Tillis. He's from North Carolina, and I want you to listen to Tillis and tell me that this is not an anti-Chinese, like his whole,
Hard work so many of us undertook to convince kids not to smoke tobacco cigarettes and ultimately save their lives.
We're talking about a serious issue that impacts the youth of our nation, but it also threatens the legal tobacco industry.
He's defending the legal tobacco industry.
Yep.
And he does say in just a second here that
The FDA banned legitimate flavored vapes. It opened the doors to cheap Chinese knockoffs that flooded the market. And even though these imported vapes are mostly illegal, there's been little done in the way of enforcement. There's been a 1,500%, a 15-time increase in kid-friendly flavors sold from 2020 to 2023.
Now he says legitimate flavored e-cigarettes. So those are legitimate, and they're not child appealing apparently, but the Chinese ones
are
only for, marketed to kids, but the other flavored ones made by Big Tobacco apparently,
because they're only tobacco flavored. Kids don't want tobacco flavor, right?
No. Later on, you're going to find out that there is a few Big Tobacco applications in for flavored products.
Among youth who reported e-cigarette use, more than 25% of them used it daily, and over a third used it at least 20 days a month. It's also worth noting that that tobacco is my state's oldest industry. North Carolina leads the country in tobacco farming and manufacturing, supporting over 27,000 jobs in the state. Nobody wants kids and teenagers using e-cigarettes, especially illegal and counterfeit products that are being dumped.
Nobody wants kids to vape, but if they're going to do it, they better use American products, not the Chinese ones.
They better use it coming from my state, right?
Yeah.
In the U.S. by China's state-controlled tobacco monopoly, which is why I voted in favor of raising the age to purchase tobacco products to 21. While youth e-cigarette use has decreased by 60% since 2019,
okay, so at least he's saying that youth vaping is down by 60%.
Right, he got it right.
Yeah.
Peak of 5.3 million. According to the National Youth Tobacco Survey, FDA's lack of guidance, lack of transparency, and lack of enforcement has allowed the CCP and organized crime to flood the U.S. with dangerous, illicit vapes.
So you're going to pick up on this because he's not even being subtle about it. He basically comes out when he's talking to Brian King and says, he asks him repeatedly, well, if we could get rid of a whole segment of these products, he's trying to lead him down the path to say that if we could get rid of all these Chinese products and kept the money in America, it'd be good. That's
get our own North Carolina products. Yeah.
FDA's refusal to follow congressional intent and implement the Tobacco Control Act has led to disastrous consequences for public health and American jobs. Now,
hey, at least he cares about American jobs.
At least he's using correct numbers.
Yeah.
Conveniently, 2 days before this hearing, the FDA has announced an interagency task force to tackle this issue that has plagued our country for years. This thinly veiled political stunt comes 2.5 years after the Reagan-Udall Foundation report was released with this very recommendation. If the timing of the task force formation wasn't evidence enough of how unserious the FDA is about tackling the flood of illicit e-cigarettes in the U.S., FDA's exclusion of CBP from the task force makes it crystal clear.
So they didn't include the Congressional Budget Office in their anti-vaping task force.
Nice. Wonderful.
Yeah.
The FDA cannot create a functioning market of regulated tobacco products through fines and warning letters alone.
Fines and warning letters alone. Let's write a firmly worded letter.
Right.
The FDA must create a consistent, transparent, science-based review process for reviewing applications for new tobacco products. FDA's current process is broken. The FDA has currently 560,000 pending applications, including more than 557,000 for e-cigarettes.
So 560 pending applications, 560,000 pending applications, 557 of those applications are vaping products.
Right.
And that means that there's 3,000 other that's, products, probably nicotine pouches, a couple new cigarettes, but 557,000 pending applications for vaping products.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
To date, the FDA has only approved 0.001% of all e-cigarette applications it has received. In fact, it's been more than 2 years since the FDA authorized a new product. And the Center for Tobacco Products has never authorized a new e-cigarette product under Director King's leadership.
So not one marketing orders, not one product has been granted marketing orders since Brian King has been at his job.
He's already said he's not going to.
The result of FDA's de facto ban on regulated, reduced-risk alternatives for adult smokers is exactly what has caused the convening of this committee today. The youth vaping epidemic and the lack of enforcement against illegal cigarettes.
Now, remember, Brian King is an epidemiologist, and I have him on video saying that there's no such thing as the youth vaping epidemic, that it is not an epidemic. But he doesn't correct these guys at all during this hearing.
No.
Furthermore, it's worth mentioning today that there is also a plague of illicit counterfeit THC vape products.
There you go.
Entering the U.S. Much of this is related to Chinese imports, and many of the health problems often associated with vaping actually stems from fake, dirty THC vapes that contain dangerous additives. We now see the Eastern Band of the Cherokee has decided to start selling THC-based products in Western North Carolina because they're within their sovereign territory. I have no doubt that they are probably putting something on the shelf that people think are safe, that are THC-based products.
Now, I don't want to get too down the social justice rabbit hole on this one, boys and girls. But this guy sounds extremely racist. First he says that the Chinese can't be trusted. Now he's saying that Native Americans can't be trusted.
Well, the Eastern Band of Cherokees is in North Carolina.
Oh, I know, but did you not hear what he just said? Well, I'm pretty sure that what they're putting in is not going to be safe.
I heard him.
I just want to call that out. This sounds extremely xenophobic to me.
I'm Native
I'll use
American,
that fancy word. I mean, I'm a pretty white dude here, But I'm picking this up, and I'm not even trying to pick it up. It's just there.
I heard it.
I
heard it.
Can't trust the yellow man. I can't trust the red man. I mean, he's one step away from saying, something else that I'm not going to say. But,
Behavioral health profession says is becoming one of the leading causes of psychotic events.
Oh yeah. Let me scroll. He's going to make his anti-THC vein. But, let's. I backed it up about 40 seconds.
Applications it has received. In fact, it's been more than 2 years since the FDA authorized a new product. And the Center for Tobacco Products has never authorized a new e-cigarette product under Director King's leadership. The result of FDA's de facto ban on regulated, reduced-risk alternatives for adult smokers is exactly what has caused the convening of this committee today. The youth vaping epidemic and the lack of enforcement against illegal cigarettes. Furthermore, it's worth mentioning today that there is also a plague of illicit, counterfeit THC vape products.
Now, I want you to, from this, he's illicit THC vape products, but then he just turns to anti-THC. Just,
Entering the U.S. Much of this is related to Chinese imports, and many of the health problems often associated with vaping actually stems from fake, dirty THC vapes that contain dangerous additives. We now see the Eastern Band of the Cherokee has decided to start selling THC-based products in Western North Carolina because they're within their sovereign territory. I have no doubt that they are probably putting something on the shelf that people think are safe, that are THC-based products that the behavioral health profession says is becoming one of the leading causes of psychotic events, these supposedly legal products that you can buy in North Carolina.
So now we're getting into reefer madness that THC causes this increasing spike in, psychotic events.
It can.
Well, it is possible that, yes, consumption of THC at a very young age can cause schizoaffective disorders to appear where they would not have appeared. Or it would accelerate the appearance and the magnitude of schizoaffective symptoms. Right. But only... And I can be corrected in this, but my understanding is it is only when they use massive amounts of THC. Right. I'm not going to... I can pull up some science on that, but yeah, I mean, I'm not saying... But this guy's making it out to be that all THC consumption is responsible for the sudden explosion of schizoaffective disorders and, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy.
Where THC products are not allowed, technically allowed. So I look forward to a robust conversation today. And maybe we can get to a point to where we can bend the curve on. Now,
he didn't want to flatten the curve. He wants to bend the curve.
Right. So
how many days do we need to flatten the curve? I'm not supposed to talk about that on this show.
We won't talk about that.
YouTube might, strike my channel for talking about that.
Hold anyone out to dry, quite frankly, if we find evidence that they are marketing to our nation's youth. This is a major public health threat. It's a major threat that I think is being perpetrated in large part by China. And Mr. Chair, I appreciate you convening the hearing.
Yeah, China. China's the enemy.
China.
Stay away from my big tobacco employers.
Sounds like Hank Hill talking about China and propane and vapes.
Today so that we can air it.
Please raise your right hand.
Okay, so we get a lot of Brian King. I didn't really put a lot of Arun on here. He's from the Department of Justice. They're basically nagging Arun throughout the whole thing about why isn't the Department of Justice more aggressively going after, because it's, obviously their job to work with FDA on enforcement.
Right.
But if FDA is not doing it, why aren't you just doing their job for them? I mean, well, he is a cop. He's Department of Justice.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record reflect that both of the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. I now give you an opportunity for an opening statement. Dr. King, please proceed.
Chair Durbin, Ranking Member Tillis, and members of the committee, thanks for the opportunity to discuss FDA's efforts to address unauthorized e-cigarettes. This morning, I'd like to provide an update on how FDA is working in collaboration with our federal partners on this critically important public health issue. Now, the bad news is that e-cigarettes have been the most commonly used tobacco product among our nation's youth since 2014. But the good news is that there's been more than a 60% decline in the number of middle and high school students using e-cigarettes over the past 5 years, including 580,000 fewer high school students in 2023 alone. But despite this progress, more work is definitely needed. And for FDA's part, we're employing a comprehensive enforcement approach in addition to other activities.
Dr. King, could you bring the microphone just a little closer?
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
And I want to reinforce that we cannot do this alone. An all-government approach across the supply chain is critical. With that goal in mind, FDA has been actively working with colleagues across the federal government, including the Department of Justice, Customs and Border Protection, the Federal Trade Commission, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. And for FDA's part, I'd like to highlight some important actions that we've taken to address unauthorized e-cigarettes. At the manufacturer and distributor level, we've conducted thousands of inspections, resulting in nearly 900 warning letters. And at the retailer level, we've issued over 550 warning letters. Many recipients heed warning letters and take corrective actions, but if they don't, we can escalate. And we've made important strides in this space, including several first-of-their-kind actions over the past 2 years. For example, we've built cases to support the first injunctions against e-cigarette manufacturers and distributors in coordination with DOJ, which now number 8 complaints filed. We've conducted the first seizure of an e-cigarette distributor in coordination with
We've done all this stuff that hasn't amounted to anything. He's naming off. We've done inspections. We've written warning letters. We've done all this stuff. We've started to send some fines out, but we haven't approved any products. You know, he's naming off all the unsuccessful things that they've done.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
DOJ and the U.S. Marshals Service. We've issued the first civil money penalties against e-cigarette manufacturers, which now number nearly 60. And at the retailer level, we've issued the first civil money penalties for sales of illegal e-cigarettes, which now number more than 100. And on imports, we participated in a landmark joint operation with Customs and Border Protection, resulting in the seizure of more than $18 million worth of unauthorized e-cigarettes.
We've seized these products. However, we've seized $18 million worth of products or whatever, but there's currently $2 billion worth of product that's currently on shelves in the market that are illegal, that are, disposable e-cigarettes.
Doesn't make sense.
No. Yeah.
And this work is in addition to our robust program to prevent underage sales, for which we've conducted nearly 1.5 million inspections, resulting in 138,000 warning letters.
All right. How many inspections did he just say?
Work is in addition to our robust program to prevent underage sales, for which we've conducted nearly 1.5 million inspections, resulting in 138,000 warning letters.
So 1.9 million mystery shops, and they've written 100 plus thousand warning letters. So that's about a 10%. I'm just roughly doing the math. It's probably even less than that, somewhere around 8% probably. An 8% warning letter rate for their sting sales.
33,000 civil money penalties and 200 no tobacco sale orders for a variety of tobacco products. Now, I want to assure you that FDA is committed to taking more of these escalated enforcement actions in conjunction with our federal partners. But the road to get there is complicated by several factors. FDA has received nearly 27 million pre-market applications.
27 million applications.
27 million.
Of which they blank check denied 26.5 million.
Robo denied.
Yeah. Which I want to remind everybody that I predicted on this show, and then people on Facebook banished me from the PMTA sharing group because they told me I was crazy and they kicked me out of their little group.
Did you message the admins and tell them I told you so?
Well, I've said it repeatedly here on the show, and some of the admins on that group have been on the show. So,
for e-cigarettes, which we are required by law to review. This, combined with the rapidly evolving tobacco product landscape, presents an unprecedented time and resource challenge that no other center at FDA has ever faced. There's also an inequity in resources. We are 100% funded by user fees, which have not been updated to reflect the realities of the tobacco product.
Of high school students today.
Shit.
High school students.
Let me go back here. Wait for this. He's talking about funding.
To ensure that we conduct scientifically defensible and legally defined to scientifically review them, and that does take time.
Mr. Rao, are these illegal
e-cigarettes, especially recently, but we acknowledge there's more to do. And guided by our new 5-year strategic plan, work is in addition to our robust program to prevent underage sales, for which we've conducted nearly 1 function with our federal partner.
I lost my spot. I don't want to repeat crap that I already
reflect the realities of the tobacco product marketplace. We need Congress's support to address this inequity, which we've included in the agency's fiscal year 25.
All right, so that's about right. It's somewhere around
inspections, resulting in 138,000 warning letters, 33,000 civil money penalties, and 200 no tobacco sale orders for a variety of tobacco products. Now, I want to assure you that FDA is committed to taking more of these escalated enforcement actions in conjunction with our federal partners, but the road to get there is complicated by several factors. FDA has received nearly 27 million pre-market applications for e-cigarettes, which we are required by law to review.
So, Fig is saying that they're supposedly 95% done. Well, they've been 95% done for like a year and a half after well, actually even longer than that, when they blank check denied 27 million or 26 million and a half applications. They haven't issued, as far as I know, denials for a while. They're just sitting on these applications, the 5% that are left. As far as I know, and they did just retract the denial of the Juul application. So Juul is now back in the pending file. So, yeah, they're at a standstill as far as I can tell.
This, combined with the rapidly evolving tobacco product landscape, presents an unprecedented time and resource challenge that no other center at FDA has ever faced. There's also an inequity in resources. We are 100% funded by user fees, which have not been updated to reflect the realities of the tobacco product marketplace.
User fees, boys and girls.
We need Congress's support to address this inequity, which we've included in the agency's fiscal year 25 budget proposal. First, we seek authorization for FDA to collect user fees from e-cigarette manufacturers, all of whom are currently paying no fees, to increase the current collections by $114 million to account.
They expect to collect an additional $114 million in vape manufacturer tobacco user fees.
They expect.
Yeah. So
are they
FDA
they're fixing to unleash a whole bunch of authorizations?
Yeah, I don't believe
and
that's
that they want that money.
No, because Big Tobacco will pay the tobacco user fees on their products.
No, they're
but I don't
asking
think it's
Congress
$114 million either. I could be wrong. Fig is saying that he's lying when he says they're 100% funded by user fees. Congress funds in the neighborhood of $4 billion. Now, I don't know if any of that $4 billion goes directly to FDA or does that go directly to CTP? Because CTP have always said that all of their budget comes from user fees. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the way they've always presented it. Now, I don't know what the full FDA budget that is taxable, but $144 million from the mom and pop vape manufacturers, I don't believe that that's realistic. I don't think very many of them could actually make that nut, to tell you the truth. I mean, and I know that it's not $144 million from one single company, it's from everybody, but from what the last I looked at the formula that they use to calculate what the user fees are for each company, I don't know that a lot of companies can afford even that. But let's go.
For the increased workload and to index all future collections for inflation. Second, we seek to extend the agile hiring authorities of the 21st Century's Cures Act to our center to improve our ability to recruit, to hire, and to retain personnel. We're the only FDA center without such authority. So in conclusion, FDA has taken important strides to address unauthorized e-cigarettes, especially recently, but we acknowledge there's more to do. And guided by our new 5-year strategic plan, I'm confident that with congressional support...
When in doubt, create a 5-year strategic plan.
Secure your job for 5 more years.
Dazzle them with a PowerPoint presentation of your five-year strategic plan. Hey, Troop is here.
What's up, Troop?
Hi, Troop.
Our critical all-government approach will help us to achieve our shared goals of removing unauthorized e-cigarettes from the marketplace and, critically importantly, keeping these products out of the hands of our nation's youth. We stand ready to partner with our federal colleagues, including Congress, to explore additional opportunities to optimize that enforcement, including the ability to better identify and prevent the importation of unauthorized tobacco products. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thanks, Mr. Rao. I'll ask a few questions. I'm going to make
I skipped Rao, just so you know. It wasn't because it was just because it was all about enforcement and blah blah blah. And why aren't you just going into convenience stores and arresting people and stuff like that? You know.
statement which I hope you'll both listen to carefully. Under the Tobacco Control Act, a manufacturer has the burden of proving to the FDA that its e-cigarette is, quote, appropriate for the protection of the public health, end quote, before it can enter the market. In other words, unless the manufacturer meets its burden and the FDA authorizes the product, it is illegal for that e-cigarette to be sold in the United States. Dr. King, Mr. Rao, is everything I've said so far accurate?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
To date, the FDA has authorized 23 e-cigarette brands. And
now, again, 23 e-cigarette brands. That is not factually correct.
Not right.
Several of those are just different pods for a single device.
Different strengths, yeah.
Right. And, yeah.
Different flavors. Yeah.
Several of those are products that are not even on the market anymore.
Right.
So I think the realistic number is 5 of the total number that have been approved. Sure, there are products that have been approved.
Authorized.
But some of those are not even on the market anymore.
Right.
So, yeah, I just want to...
No flavored cigarettes have been authorized by the FDA.
Here's the visual aid.
Take a look at this photo. It was taken by my staff just a few days ago.
And that could actually be the vape shop that, well, there's a like a Kratom / hemp / vape store right beside our Walmart. That could be a picture of the shelf at that vape shop. It's not really, isn't that shop, I shouldn't say vape shop.
At a vape shop less than 1 mile removed from the FDA's headquarters. It shows Fat Boys Red Bull Strawberry.
Somebody named a brand after me?
That's good.
Vape and V-Hose Dragon Fruit Watermelon Vapes.
V-Hose.
Right here is this so-called Elf Bar Watermelon Bubblegum Vape purchased from that store less than 1 mile away from the FDA headquarters.
Now, I wonder how much the guy that's just standing behind that poster, holding that up in the air, how much money do we pay him?
Why don't we arrest Dick Durbin for buying an illegal product?
We could. We should go after him.
Not a single one of these products has been authorized by the FDA. None of them. These illegal products, clearly designed for kids by their flavors, are being sold in FDA's shadow of their building headquarters, less than a mile from your headquarters.
Now, that's not true. The Silver Springs, Maryland building is not tall enough to cast a shadow. I'm just telling you.
How is that allowed to happen, Dr. King?
I'll reinforce that we do have a pre-market paradigm for reviewing applications, and the sheer volume of the volume of those applications and the volume of the market requires us to prioritize our enforcement efforts.
That's what I really want to get to here. So you're saying that if they're burden of proof on the manufacturer under the law, they have to prove appropriate for public health before.
Now, I mean, Brian King should, I mean, he's trying to be extremely diplomatic in his responses here. But at this point, he should be saying, well, boss, none of those companies have probably put in a PMTA. None of them have, as far as I know. I could be wrong.
I think Elf Bar did.
I think it was, well, Elf Bar didn't come out until after the PMTA deadline.
But they submitted one.
Which means that they should not be marketing their product at all. Now, the products that were on the market before the PMTA deadline and that were on the market prior to the PMTA process even being announced, they were already on the market. Now, and I'm talking about pre-2016, 20, some of the products that I used to buy in 2014 are still on the market now. Now, today, I found out that and I didn't use any of these products because they never produce anything that I could vape, because I vape 12 milligram and they don't produce 12 milligram. But somebody that I am acquainted with in the vape industry who has, as far as my memory goes, always tried to be a good advocate. And he did write checks, and he was a member of his advocacy groups. Corey Vigil from Boosted got hammered today with a legal decision, which is not cool. But they were on the market prior to 2014, 2015, 2016. So, I get this. And this is the part where I was talking about. Brian King should say to him, well, some of these products were on the market before we were granted authorization, authority to regulate these products, and we are trying to be as fair as possible. We're going after the products that are more child appealing, that are the ones that the kids are using the most, and we are prioritizing our enforcement actions because our whole center only employs 1,000 people. Now, we don't have the budget. DOJ doesn't have the budget to go around and hire people in all 50 states, massive numbers of people to go from, because to do this effectively, strategically, you'd have to do it all in a very short amount of time. Because you damn well know if somebody in Oklahoma posted on social media today, we got stung and all of our vape shops got locked up for selling illegal products, that would be on Facebook. And immediately every vape shop in the United States would close their door and start operating out the back door.
Yeah, I've got a jar of Boosted right here. Bottle of Boosted. Birthday cake.
Well, you're not going to be able to get that no more.
No.
But anyway, but again, Brian King doesn't come out and say that. Well, he does, but he doesn't come out and say about the products that some of these products have been on the market for 10 years, even before we were granted authority to regulate them.
Or they will be approved by the FDA. That proof is not made, and yet these products are going for sale. You've completely fallen down on the job. Your responsibility is to impose the burden of proof and not allow the sale of these e-vape cigarettes to kids unless they are approved by the FDA, correct?
Correct.
So let's hear.
So again, he doesn't say correct, but there are circumstances that you are not taking into account. Maybe you've forgotten because you've been in Congress this whole damn time. But no, he does. He does. You know, for me, I mean, I guess it wouldn't pay for me to go to Congress and because I would be the guy that would stand up and yell back at them, especially when he uses the tone that he's using. He's using a demeaning, derogatory, "You've dropped the ball." He's talking down to him. And, you know, I'm not defending Brian King, but at least he could have argued better.
Right.
The answer.
I'll reinforce that the sheer volume of this product landscape requires time to ensure that we conduct scientifically defensible and legally defensible reviews of.
So now he's defending the length of time that it takes to approve the damn stuff, but he's not defending the fact that some of these products should be allowed to be on the market because they were on the market before. Now, all these bars, all the Elf bars, later on you're going to see Mike Tyson's brand, and I thought that somebody might make the joke, you really don't want to piss off Mike, but yeah, I mean, all this is like this guy kowtowing and kissing that other guy's ass when he should be defending himself. I'm fucking Dr. Brian King.
Yeah.
You're just some, nuisance fucking ambulance chaser. But no.
The 27 million
It's not your burden. It's their burden. They have to prove they're appropriate for public health. You don't.
But we have to read their fucking application, you dumbass. He's telling, well, that's not your... Yes, we have to read the application before we can approve it. You act like it's their burden of proof that they have to prove. Yes, they have to prove that. And the only way we can approve their application is if they prove it in their application and we read their fucking application. And there's 27 million applications, you jackass.
You don't have to disprove it.
I'll reinforce that the applications are substantial, and we have hundreds of scientists that...
What he should have said, look, the Juul PMTA was over 300,000 pages.
Right. We need a team of 100 scientists
so
to read
it takes time to read 300,000 pages, you Nimrod.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he just said, oh, they're substantial. He doesn't if he verbalized this, if he said, look, you don't understand the gravity of the situation. You think that we can do our job at the snap of a finger. But it takes time, especially when we're looking at scientific data. The scientists have to look at it to confirm whether it's real or not. And that takes time, especially when there are 300,000 pages. That's a big tobacco PMTA. Now, I don't know how many pages some of the independent mom and pops are, but I'm sure there are thousands of pages.
They're working on a daily basis to review these applications, and we've made good progress. We're 99%
So if I make a filing,
through.
if I file legal briefs thick enough, I can go ahead and sell my product without approval.
No, that's not accurate, but we want to make sure we review the science that's submitted. And so there are some applications that don't meet the initial bar. There's 3 phases of review, and we can remove those applications earlier if they don't have the necessary information. But if they provide enough science for us to do a substantive review, we have to take the time to scientifically review them, and that does take time.
Mr. Rao, are these tobacco company lawyers beating you to death to the point where you don't enforce the law as it is written and I described it? Please use your microphone.
Senator, this is obviously a very litigious environment. We have been actively defending the FDA in courts of appeal and district courts.
33 months. 33 months since the Maryland court said you were required through the FDA to get your job done, and nothing has happened.
Senator,
you call this an urgent need. What is urgent about waiting almost 3 years and doing nothing?
Senator, we share your concerns with respect to the widespread prevalence of the...
So, again, he already has an opinion. He's not listening to these people.
Nope.
I'm skipping Arun here. Because again,
he's got Meredith's opinion.
Yeah, let's go.
So I have a habit of asking questions I don't know the answer to, and this is one that I'm curious. If you take a look at the shelves that are full there.
Again, this is more of the anti-Chinese,
You could leave this hearing, or you could view this hearing through a lens of attacking big tobacco and taking advantage of the youth population and try to get them addicted to nicotine. But it seems to me that a lot of these products that were up there are not being dumped on the market by big tobacco. Am I wrong?
Senator, the market is, there are a number of players in the market, not just the large.
Well, let me just ask, we never totally solve problems here. That's why we've been coming back every year for several hundred years.
That's because they've just decided to do a half-assed job.
Right. Kick the can down the road. Yep.
Try and get things right in this country. But if you really wanted to take a big chunk out of the danger that our youth faces today, would it be double down on big tobacco or in this?
Senator.
He turned his mic off.
Shit.
And if you actually pull that whole box forward, I think that's what you're struggling with.
Okay. How about now? Senator, I think given the complexity of the market, I think you have to take a multi-pronged approach. We have to use all available.
I get
tools.
all that. But if you're
so he's fishing now. He's wanting this guy to say, if we just ban all the Chinese manufactured products, wouldn't that just solve most of the problem? Let's just ban all the Chinese products. That's what he's trying to get the guy to say.
We're in a world, we've heard Mr. King say that the FDA is stretched for resources. I think fee structures probably should be modernized. That's not going to happen overnight. So if you can only focus on one area that would have the biggest return, I'm just asking between big tobacco, which has been characterized as one of the lead causes of this problem, or what's being dumped substantially from China, which of the two would you try to solve first?
Senator, we would work with the FDA on determining the most effective use of our resources.
Well, Mr. King, let me move to you. I'm assuming a lot of these applications you're being flooded with, are they from the normal players, or are they from other players that are dumping products in the market?
It's all of the above.
But give me some rough idea of stratification in terms of numbers.
So now so give me a percentage of the number of applications that are big tobacco applications, and give me a percentage of the number that are these Chinese companies. If we got rid of these Chinese companies, wouldn't it be so much easier if you only had to work with big tobacco? I mean, that's what he's trying to. Yeah. He's
the sources.
So in terms of the big players, we do receive applications, but we also receive from small entities as well, including small manufacturers. Mom and pop shops and vape shops are submitting
applications. Between the two of them, just intuitively, Mr. King, which of the two do you think would be more risky in terms of what's in the product?
Oh, again.
He changed it now. Yeah.
You see what he's saying there? Well, of course, the Chinese products are probably going to be illicit. They're probably going to have bad stuff in them. Dangerous. Only America can produce these products safely. That's what he's trying to say. That's what he's trying to get that guy to say.
Dirty.
A big tobacco company that's a perennial target, or mom and pop shops and import. Just intuitively, which of the two do you think would represent?
Now, say for example, I'm just going to pause this for a second and throw this out here as like so in any other manufactured product industry, electronics, clothes, whatever, any product, if a congressman was talking to Steve Jobs, well, no, not Steve Jobs, he's dead, but the guy that took over for Steve Jobs, I don't know what his fucking name is, or Bill Gates, or any manufacturer of computer components or electronic components, and he said, hey, products made in China are by nature illicit and bad, so we need to ban the production of all electronic components being imported that are manufactured in China. So to make the assumption, or to make the statement, or to make the implication that products made in a different country are by nature of being made in China, for example, that they're lower quality, that they're in some way faulty or detrimental, or that would be like, that would cause waves in that industry in general, because not all, a vast majority of computer components and chips and all that shit is manufactured over there because it's cheaper. And that by nature does not mean that product is bad.
Right.
Fucking I don't know what the highest selling car in the United States is, but I guarantee you it's probably manufactured in a different country.
Right. Mexico, probably. It's sold here.
Yeah. I mean, this is, again, I go back to I don't want to, argue the social justice part of this, but this is extremely, this guy's been extremely kind of xenophobic or racist throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
The Native American jab, this repeated anti-Chinese jab. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the CCP, don't get me wrong, but I also think, I've seen pictures of the Puff Bar factories, on Facebook where, people are, the quality control guys taking a puff on every fucking device, and I don't see them wiping them off.
Right.
But,
present the most dangerous product.
It's dependent upon the information that's supplied in the application to us on the science, and I cannot make a sweeping generalization because
there's no way. So you think that products that have been researched, that are going through an industry that's been heavily regulated, are likely to be as dangerous as products that are being dumped from companies that are manufacturing it in China?
Again,
okay, so now, again, he's making the argument, and I've made this exact argument, that, of course, I've seen people on social media say, well, you don't know what Big Tobacco's putting in their vape, their Mark 10s or Views or whatever the fucking product it is. Well, yeah, they're used to being scrutinized, so they're really not going to adulterate your product. It doesn't benefit them to add shit to your fucking vape.
No.
However, that doesn't, again, immediately say that their product is any more safe than a Chinese product is.
Right.
Yeah. This guy's full of, obviously he's a senator from North Carolina, so he's definitely wanting to protect jobs in North Carolina for sure. But, it drips. Like, he could have been way more subtle in his, racism. It could have been way more subtle.
Can't speak in broad generalizations, but there are variability within these products. It's a diverse landscape of different products with different device types. And so making those generalizations is not consistent with the available scientific evidence.
No, actually, I just think it's fascinating that we haven't done the work to understand that, because you're not going to solve the whole problem. And it would seem to me that it would be useful to actually figure out, if you were able to reduce the risk in one sector, then you would have some idea of where the most dangerous products are and how they're systematically coming to market. But apparently that's not a factor, and I'm not going to go any further on that question. Why?
You can tell he's disappointed he didn't hear what he wanted.
Yeah, he didn't get the answer. Yeah.
2 years after the report, are we just hearing about this task force after the report recommendation?
We've been working systematically since the release of the Reagan-Udall evaluation to address all 15 recommendations.
Connection, because I'm trying to understand why you think you have to do the science, and I don't think you're suggesting that because they've applied that they can sell the market until they've been disproven. Is that accurate?
There is no safe harbor by simply submitting an application. Anyone who does not have authorization through the appropriate PMTA pathway or other pathways is on the market.
Okay, so just to be clear, if I can rob Senator Durbin, what the hell are we talking about here then? Is this legal? Is it illegal? Is it subject to review and approval of an application? I'm sorry to go over, Senator Durbin, but I'm trying to get an answer to your question, actually.
I can't go through every single product on that chart, but I will tell you that it's
the point here is this is a shelf full of potentially dangerous substances in a...
Potentially dangerous substances.
It's like weapons of mass destruction. Yeah.
So, Brian King could have said, None of those products were on the market before the PMTA deadline, so every one of those products are illegal. He could have said that.
He didn't. He didn't.
So, I mean, he could have given them half the answer that they wanted. Because technically, any product that came to market after the deadline of 8/8/16 is technically illegal. Well, it's not even technically illegal. It's fucking explicitly illegal. But, you know, we have to use our enforcement discretion to use the assets that we have on hand. And at this point, we don't have the ability to immediately remove all of these products from the market because all we're going to be doing is generating a fucking black market. I mean, he could say that, but he didn't.
He didn't.
Store in the shadow of the FDA building. I'm just trying to figure out if any of this is illegal or how in the hell it's legal. I mean, why? I mean, that seems like a legitimate question, right? Okay.
I'm happy to answer.
So,
if I have.
I mean, maybe we should go to the audience. I'm just trying to get an answer. I'm trying to understand why this is happening in North Carolina. I just don't understand it.
Yeah,
but
no, I'd appreciate the opportunity to respond.
So now he asks a question, an inflammatory question, and then he fucking cuts him off and doesn't let him answer it.
On the questions. I do want to back up, though, and understand that I would much prefer, I used to dip tobacco, and then I went to a nicotine pouch substance.
Oh, you used an unapproved FDA unapproved or no marketing orders granted product to quit your chewing tobacco habit. That's what he's just admitting right now.
And last September, when the sales went off, I told myself I was going to quit cold turkey, and I got off of nicotine.
So he used nicotine pouches, then he quit completely. However, he doesn't say the fact that, now as far as I know, I'm 100%, no, maybe not 100%, I'm fairly confident that, I'm not sure. Are any of the Zyn products, are they tobacco flavored? I myself didn't see one. So I'm not quite sure.
Mango flavored.
All of those that I have
Wintergreen
are flavored products.
Mint. Cinnamon.
All of the Zyns that I have are not tobacco flavored.
No, I've never seen one tobacco flavored.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of trying to remove a comment from a Facebook post because people are herbal, and I can't do it. I have to open it in Facebook. So if I'm distracted looking, it's because I am distracted. I'm trying.
No, looks like a kratom post.
Yeah, it's a fucking. I gotta. No, I'm okay.
You tried the grape, Redfern. Yeah, it tastes like grape. Big League Chew. The grape Zemo.
I need to banish this person.
Banish him. Banish.
There's several here I gotta delete.
So what he's saying is he dipped. He went to a couch. He got off of tobacco products using a illicit product by FDA standards.
Yeah.
And actually congressional standards, because they instituted the Tobacco Protection Family Act. And so he's himself admitting that he used a illicit product to get off of
it has to be a flavored product.
It has to be a flavored product.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of confused.
He looks like a Copenhagen or a wintergreen skull kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's from North Carolina. Of course he's a skull guy.
All right. Cory Booker asked some questions. I hate that guy, but let's just.
They just quit. So I hope as we're having this discussion that we recognize if we take this stuff off the market, then people are not going to say, well, nicotine's not available anymore, I guess I'll just stop. They're going to go back to a more harmful substance, and we need to make sure that baby doesn't get thrown out with the bathwater.
Could you talk to me a little bit about the products that are being sold in our stores and corner grocery stores and bodegas that come from other countries and the risks that they pose to American citizens?
Now, I do want to comment how the expressive earnestness that Cory Booker, when he's asking these questions, his eyes are wide, like he's so worried and concerned about this topic. The whole time he's so impassioned about this.
Please.
Happy to answer. Yeah, so we know e-cigarettes as a general product class have lower risk than conventional cigarettes, but that does not mean that they're safe. We know the levels of toxicants are markedly lower, but we know that the aerosol can contain harmful and potentially harmful constituents, but it's a vast marketplace and there's marked variability across product types and brands.
But be specific. Some of these products that are coming from other countries like China, do they pose?
Now, this is a very progressive, liberal gentleman married to a Hollywood actress, as far as, if my memory serves. He's like married to or dating Rosario Dawson or something. And he's going whole hog in the anti-China boat too.
Pose a threat? Could they pose a threat?
I would say that any of the products, regardless of whether they're coming from China or not, could, and that's why we have a pre-market paradigm to review the scientific evidence, to understand what is in the product itself, and to make a determination based on the science whether they meet the appropriate statute by law.
So let me just ask you, are any of these products safe to consume?
There's no e-cigarette that is safe. They have lower risk.
So there's no e-cigarette that's safe at all. I realize the argument is that for people.
So I edited the part out where he put the Mike Tyson bar up there. I thought it was funny that they chose the Iron Mike, disposable vape, and nobody made the joke. Somebody should have made the joke. Maybe you shouldn't put that up there. Just saying.
People who are trying to wean themselves, let's say, from tobacco, some adults find some of these products, maybe not these products, but some other products.
I guarantee you there's some adults that buy those fucking products. Like immediately, every time a flavored product gets thrown in front of them, they say, well, adults don't like these. But there's probably some products that the adults like, but it's not these are for kids.
But they threw that baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
The adult angle. Yeah.
Useful to wean themselves because, as I understand, the two biggest problems with smoking a cigarette, for example, is the products of combustion and the nicotine. The products of combustion associated with cancer, according to the Surgeon General. And, of course, if you're vaping and not smoking.
Now, I do need to have a conversation with Mike Tyson, though, in a very respectful way, because apparently when he read this, and I didn't put it in this clip, when he was reading the warning label on the Mike Tyson vape, he specifically says that according to California, this contains chemicals that cause cancer.
Right.
But it's only on the Mike Tyson one. It's not on the True Story one. Okay. And he does go out of his way. I didn't include it, but I'll just mention it, that these products are designed in America but manufactured in China and sold, and only, what does it say? Something like only available in America or only sold in America, blah, blah, blah. And they go into a long conversation about why does China manufacture them but not allow them to be sold in China. And it isn't brought up, but the fact that China owns 100% of the tobacco market in China is why.
Right.
Yeah.
State owned. Yeah.
Big tobacco.
Oh, I fucking hit the wrong place again. No. I'm just going to skip all this. Where we were over here. There's Corey. We're going to skip this. There's the true story nonsense. I don't want to sit here and go through the whole fucking thing, but
not have authorization as a risk of enforcement. And I can't comment on specifics of any individual product, but we have an important paradigm in place. We've got to prioritize our resources accordingly, but we are monitoring the use of products, including those that are appealing to kids.
What are you doing to mitigate the harms that Juul is causing while you complete your review?
Now, Blumenthal, his whole thing is that it's Juul. Like he's upset that they, so his whole segment, the Alzheimer's is really affecting him. Juul has lost a massive amount of their market share that they had when he was up to date on this topic. But like he has a fucking burr under his saddle about Juul, and he spends the most of his time grilling about fucking Juul. And how FDA is going to regret. Now, I'm just going to skip to Tony. How about that? Let's just skip to Tony. Now, they make everybody swear an oath. I did not include any of the other people in this. This lady is, the African-American lady is from Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. The guy beside her is from NATO. He's from the Convenience Store Association. There's Tony. The Asian lady is a pediatric tobacco, she's a doctor. And then the young lady on the end, who I completely edited out because she's a minor, is a teenage girl that they brought in because she posted on social media that she is addicted to vaping. So I skipped everybody but Tony. So that this is where the lion's share of the editing occurred, because I didn't feel like any of their responses. The Asian lady was just like totally. People that want to quit smoking should only use FDA approved tobacco cessation products. Blah 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 blah.
Nothing but the truth, so help you God. Let the record reflect that all five have answered in the affirmative. And
thank you, Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Tillis, and members of the committee for allowing me to testify today and answer your questions on a topic that is crucial to our public health. I hope that my opening statement and responses to your questions will inform a balanced conversation about tobacco policy in the United States that is rooted in the science on e-cigarettes. My name is Tony Aboud, and I am the Executive Director of the Vapor Technology Association. VTA is a trade association that protects and promotes a vibrant U.S. vapor industry with companies at every level of the distribution chain, including manufacturers, distributors, suppliers, and mom-and-pop retailers. Discussions like the one we are having today are critical to our members throughout the country in informing our efforts and our engagement with the esteemed members of this committee. I hope I can serve as a useful and important resource for you all. Let us begin with the fact that youth vaping in the United States has dramatically resolved from the peak of the Juul epidemic in 2019. Since then, youth vaping.
Now, I'm not going to criticize Tony for criticizing Juul, because I'm just gonna say it. At one point, they did recruit Juul to become a member of VTA,
right? And
right after that happened, they made their deal with Big Tobacco and became part of Altria. So that immediately stung.
Yep.
And then they came to the VTA conference in Austin, Texas, Juul did, and basically said, we're not here to defend the industry, we're only here to defend Juul.
Yep.
And that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, and then they were not allowed to renew their membership. But
renewed.
Yeah. So, people were extremely critical of VTA when that happened. VTA didn't know that Juul was going to be bought by Altria and then immediately take. I mean, I'll say this, prior to that, Juul was not the greatest company in the world. They made a lot of fucking mistakes, but they weren't complete asshats. I'll just say it like that. But then when they got bought by Altria, they immediately went into the asshat column. Lucky for them, well, maybe not lucky for them. I went to dinner with Brittany Cushman instead of going to Dimitri went to dinner with Juul. Like, they broke everybody up that was at the conference to go to dinner with a different board member. And I got to sit across from Brittany Cushman and have a good conversation with her. Sadly, the other people that were at the table were great people, don't get me wrong, but none of them have a strong enough personality to take control of the table. I mean, I'm very talkative, and I will monopolize the time in the conversation if I'm allowed to do it, and I was essentially allowed to do it. It just happened. So a lot of the people got to sit at the table and not get much in. But if I had been to dinner with Juul, and Dimitri did have an argument with him at the table, if both of us had been at that fucking table, it would have been bad.
Knives are out. Huh?
It would have been grotesquely bad. I don't know who, because Fig was there. I don't know who Fig got to go to dinner with. He may have been at that Juul the Juul dinner. I'm not sure, but anyway, he might have gone with Demand Vape. That might have been who he went with. I'm not sure.
Has plummeted 61%, largely due to the common sense federal law raising the age to buy tobacco products to 21, a law that VTA championed with the White House and with Congress. According to the CDC's National Youth Tobacco Survey, the youth vaping rate now sits at the lowest level in more than a decade, before e-cigarettes were even regulated by the FDA. Even better, now only 4.4% of youth use e-cigarettes regularly, and even fewer use them daily. Interestingly, in that same CDC survey, youth have consistently reported that flavors are not the reason they first try an e-cigarette or the reason they currently use e-cigarettes. Even more interesting, the dramatic rise in flavor.
So he just said that youth report that flavors are not the most important thing that gets them to vape for the first time, according to the data from the National Youth Tobacco Survey. Yeah. Obviously, they're never going to bring that up again.
Nope.
During this hearing. They're not going to say, oh, well, that I found that interesting. No, they're not bringing that shit up again.
Flavored disposable vaping products since 2019 in this country has corresponded with that dramatic decline in youth vaping. But as dramatic as the decline in youth vaping has been, VTA has not been satisfied and has been advocating on the Hill for serious, common-sense marketing and access restrictions to further protect youth from e-cigarettes. Why is this important? In February, Dr. Nancy Rigotti of Harvard Medical School wrote in the New England Journal of Medicine, quote, "It is now time for the medical community to add e-cigarettes to the smoking cessation toolkit. U.S. public health agencies and medical societies should reconsider their cautious positions on e-cigarettes for smoking cessation. The evidence has brought e-cigarettes to a tipping point. The burden of tobacco-related disease is too big for potential solutions such as e-cigarettes to be ignored." Further, last fall, the Medical University of South Carolina published the largest clinical trial in the United States, covering 4 years and 11 cities, finding that e-cigarettes help people quit smoking better than the FDA-approved medicines on the market, even if the individuals had no intention of quitting. In other words, the mere availability of these vaping products caused them to quit smoking. Another study by Abigail Freeman from Yale showed that flavored e-cigarette restrictions result in a direct increase in cigarette sales in those jurisdictions which have limited them. The authors warned any perceived public health benefits of reducing flavored e-cigarettes may be offset by the public health costs from e-cigarette sales. The reason we are having this enforcement discussion today is because U.S. tobacco regulation in the hands of this FDA is broken. The FDA was supposed to implement the Tobacco Control Act to allow Americans access to alternatives to cigarettes that are less harmful. Instead, the FDA has done the exact opposite. It has misused its power to impose a de facto ban on flavored vaping products without reviewing the science. Since passage of the Tobacco Control Act, the FDA has authorized 16,000 combustible tobacco products and only a handful of vaping products. In the past 2 years alone, this FDA has not authorized a single vaping product or nicotine pouch product like Zyn, but it has rushed 2,000 new combustible products, including 821 new cigarettes, to the market for Americans to smoke.
I didn't realize there was 800 brands or 800 different cigarette products.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And Brian King's FDA Center for Tobacco Products approved 800 new combustible cigarette products, but not one vaping product.
Just wonderful.
In the last 2 years. That's a little funny.
The FDA has not done its job as a regulator, and now it wants more funding to enforce the very actions which federal courts have declared illegal and which are going for Supreme Court review. To be clear, the FDA has repeatedly stated that every single vaping product on the market is illegal, regardless of whether the company has a pending application. That means it is enforcing prohibition. I contend you can give it all the enforcement power in the world, but prohibition cannot be enforced. Instead of pursuing this failed regulatory policy, the FDA must reverse course, make harm reduction its North Star, and authorize a wide variety of products that are less harmful products. Filling the market with flavored products which American adult consumers are clearly demanding is the only way to curb the illicit demand and give Americans what they need, what they want, and what the law was intended for them to have. Only then will 500,000 Americans who die from smoking every year have a regulated choice and a fighting chance. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I look forward to answering your questions and working with the committee going forward.
So he was very confident during the speech. Like you could tell he'd practiced the speech.
Right.
His little introduction. And again, when Tony is on fire, Tony is damn good. Now, there have been some times where Tony was on national TV and got fucking mugged. Chris Cuomo fucking raped him on TV. Like, I felt bad for Tony. I actually could, I'm not gonna, but I could open my private messages where I fucking told him, Cuomo is going to kill you if you let him.
That's funny.
That might be why he hasn't talked to me in 3 years. No, I'm just saying. But yeah.
Dr. Wally, what about this argument that vaping is a good way to stop tobacco use?
Thank you for the question, Senator Durbin.
So I did include her, this one interaction with her. And again, this is just to show the medical professional's opinion on vape products, on e-cigarettes, because this is where she just says, nobody should use an e-cigarette and they should only use FDA-approved smoking cessation.
Trained nicotine and tobacco specialist and a former medical director of a tobacco consult service. I understand the devastation of an adult who has been smoking for 50 years and has what we call like a 100-pack history, where they smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 50 years. And so no one would be more happy to.
Now, I mean, this is how ignorant Susan is. So she says 2 packs a day for 50 years is a 100-pack habit.
Yeah, that doesn't equal 100.
I'm just saying, there's 365 days a year, and if you multiply that times 50,
that doesn't equal.
It's
100.
way more than 200 packs, dear. I'm I'm just throwing that out there. You are supposed to be a medical doctor, and you're supposed to be pretty smart, but I'm just telling you, if a person smoked 200 packs of cigarettes in 50 years, they'd have pretty healthy looking lungs. I mean, I'm just, they're smoking like a cigarette a day, and maybe not even a whole cigarette a day. So,
see additional FDA-proven safe and effective smoking cessation therapies. The FDA has already approved safe and effective smoking cessation.
Maybe safe, but definitely not effective, Susan. You are supposed to be a tobacco treatment expert. You claim that you ran a tobacco treatment center.
Lies.
And you're tooting the horn of FDA-approved smoking cessation products that at best, the science is quite clear, are at best 6 to 8% successful. So I don't really know what you're saying safe and effective, because they're only effective 6 to 8% of the time.
Therapies. And this is crucial that we as a medical community and as a society make sure that we provide the access to those safe and effective FDA-approved smoking cessation therapies.
So, Mr. Abood, when you listen to Ms. Shapiro talk about her addiction, what do you think as the head of the association?
Now, Ms. Shapiro is the teenage girl that told her story of how addicted she is to vaping.
For vaping?
Well, first of all, Senator, I think about her as the parent of 3 teens and young adults. These are not new issues for me, for my family, for any parents in the United States.
Are your kids vaping?
Some of them do vape, yeah. And we talk about this issue like we do all the other issues that teens have to struggle with.
Do you encourage them to stop?
Of course we do. Of course we encourage them to stop.
Doesn't that tell the whole story here? You don't want your own kids doing this. Why do we want any kids doing this?
We don't want any kids doing this. This is why we raised the age to 21, and we advocated for that. That's why we've made.
So again, VTA did aggressively participate in the T21 legislation, but this guy, Durbin's like, well, like he's trying to downplay the fact that VTA was trying to be responsible. I disagree with that, but again, I'm not, I think T21 was a mistake, to tell you the truth, but if you're a fucking adult and you can be, you can get a credit card, you can put your, self in debt, would ruin your credit for long periods of time. You can destroy your future by, volunteering to do any number of things, serving your country, which is not a sacrifice that is, well intentioned, and, I didn't do it, but other people do. And I love them for it. But, you should also be able to drink and buy cigarettes if you want to. If you're able to do that, you should be able to, do that other part too.
That teens have to struggle with.
Do you encourage them to stop?
Of course we do. Of course we encourage them to stop.
Doesn't that tell the whole story here? You don't want your own kids doing this. Why do we want any kids doing this?
We don't want any kids doing this. This is why we raised the age to 21, and we advocated for that. That's why we've made this product illegal. That's also why we work hard at doing the other things, making more common sense regulations to make sure that these products don't get into their hands. Increasing
Mr. Abood, what about that? I mean, you said this is prohibition. Is it prohibition to say you have the burden of proof that your product is safe for public health before it can be sold in the United States?
Yeah, the problem, of course, Senator, is the fact that...
Now, this is where Tony goes fucking double barrel on FDA.
The FDA created the regulations. They set the deadlines for complying with the regulations. They asked for and received funding from this body for enforcing those regulations. They changed the rules of the regulations and the requirements after applications were submitted, and they did so in a manner that did not involve any sort of public policy oversight. The net result was the mass removal of products from the marketplace, and which, of course, spawned this illicit marketplace.
The original law, the Tobacco Control Act, puts a burden of proof on the manufacturer to prove that their product is safe for public health.
Now, wait for it.
Do you understand that responsibility?
I do. I do.
And do you disagree with that? Do you think that's not the case?
But manufacturers need to know from the FDA what is required to make that proof. And the Reagan-Udall Foundation, which was an independent body that was asked for by the commissioner, said that the agency has not told companies what is required to prove APPH or how they are interpreting it. And instead of responding to that criticism, the FDA waited 1 year and said nothing. They are not telling manufacturers what they need to do to comply, and they're not even telling retailers what products they're even reviewing, much less how they're reviewing them.
23 of those manufacturers have been approved, so obviously they knew what they needed to
Well, all right, here he comes again.
comply.
Well, that's a little bit of a stretch, Senator, only because 23 is really basically only 8 devices, which is, and only a few, 5 of them are on the market today. That is not enough for 30 million smokers. That is not enough of options.
I think the bottom line is, if you want to discourage your own children from using vaping products, we ought to understand the danger of that product, and I think you inherently do. Most parents would.
So now do you see that at the very end? He just slapped him in the face. Most parents do, and I think you do too.
Yeah. Jerk.
Yeah.
What a jerk.
Mr. Abu, your industry future rests on getting this right. And again, I've got to believe that you don't see your future as successfully marketing to kids. That is not a sustainable path for a credible, a legitimate business in the United States. Probably nowhere, but certainly not in the United States. So if you were waving a wand and you were Dr. King, or you were in charge of the federal government regulatory agencies.
Okay, so again, he's again going to ask him, oh, well, if we gave you a silver bullet and you could get rid of, a big chunk of the bad players, who would they be?
Or you were a member of the U.S. Senate and wanted to fix this problem, what would your suggestion be? Number one, do you suggest that there is a problem? Is there a problem that needs to be fixed? That's the first question. Otherwise, it disqualifies the second one. Is there a problem that exists with youth vaping and a vector to more dangerous outcomes?
There is definitely an issue that persists.
Now you get an opportunity to wave a wand. What should we do?
There's 2, maybe 3 principal things that we do. The first is that we implement serious marketing and access restrictions, the kind that we've been meeting with members on the Hill about, and we've been recommending for years. Unfortunately, this body has typically only wanted to talk about banning flavors, as if flavors was in itself the only thing about marketing. We know that youth are impacted by this issue. They say they are impacted and attracted to vaping for many other reasons other than vaping. Marketing we can get to those concerns, we can get to access restrictions and do things that doesn't require removing all the products that adults are using. The second thing is, from an FDA perspective, I think we've clearly heard the testimony today. This is a hot mess right now, and there is no clear pathway out, particularly through this PMTA process. And you heard direct.
Now, 20 years ago, I would have never said that anybody would have gone in front of Congress and said, hot mess.
Right.
But we've gotten to the point now we're relaxed enough in our language that we can, well, the congressman even used a profane word a while ago. He said hell, which I would never have imagined.
Is hot mess a nasty word or what?
It's not a nasty word, but it's slang. It's definitely not polite language.
Well, it's in the lexicon now. We're good.
Now it is, but yeah, the language has gotten way more less formal, I should say,
No cap, bro.
Yeah, I have no idea what that even fucking means. I've heard somebody say it recently, but I have no idea what it means.
Dr. King say, well, we're going to try to resolve these applications, but we have to worry about litigation. Of course they do, because they put themselves in a box now where they have rejected en masse all flavored vaping applications. So they can't make any more decisions along those lines without worrying about what the Supreme Court thinks. But the answer is already in the Tobacco Control Act. They could implement a tobacco product standard. They can move on it aggressively. They could state what the products should, what should and should not be in the products, how products should and should not be manufactured. They can lay out those standards that manufacturers can comply with. There won't be any black box questioning as to what happens when an application goes in. It won't take 4 or 5 years for an application to get resolved. And then we can move forward with an actual regulated market. But unless they make harm reduction their North Star, unless they say we believe in vaping products and we want to encourage them like they are doing in other countries, we are going to persist in having an illicit market. It will just be a purely black market, not sold through any of the legal or regulated, licensed, and tax-paying retailers and distributors that our entities represent.
Thank you.
Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Criticism in
public health, the best compliance rate.
I'm going to skip Blumenthal and just go to Tony again.
Cannabis in flavors of all varieties.
like Puff Bar, the half measures by the FDA that allowed Puff Bar to build on the popularity and addiction that Juul caused, and the need for enhanced federal enforcement. Am I correct in believing that you would support additional resources and stronger regulation?
Senator, to the earlier point, I also don't want my kids drinking alcohol or using cannabis in flavors of all varieties. I know kids are going to try things and to do things. I don't try to base our national public health policies or my beliefs on those based upon what's
Well, let me break down the question. You were critical, very specifically, of the lack of resources. Let's just talk about resources. Would you support additional resources going to FDA and other enforcement agencies to better enforce restrictions on sales of vaping products?
I honestly don't think it's a resource issue. The FDA has had resources for years. They just haven't used them in a manner that's efficient and that is effective. For example, they use a lot of resources to go out and do retail inspections, and they talk about vape shops being a problem. What we found from their data is that the vape shops have the best compliance rate with respect to the underage sales to youth.
Well, I want to, just take this back to the manufacturers and the retailers of these products. Wouldn't you agree that they've marketed to kids?
I think there is some poor marketing, which is why we've been advocating for marketing restrictions in this country.
Well, the plain fact is
there's not enough resources.
They've taken a page from Big Tobacco's playbook. And
there are not enough resources to enforce a way out of this without other laws that can help put restrictions on that. Enforcing a prohibition is going to lead to simply a black market. It will not work. So
well, that's the same argument that was used about tobacco.
Because it's true, you dumb moron. If you ban something, people will go and get the thing that you don't want them to have. It's quite simple.
Cannabis. Take cannabis, for instance, yeah.
Did the war on drugs work, you dumbass? No. It just fucking created the cartels. I mean, I find these are the people, this is what Blumenthal's from Illinois, right? Mm. This is what Illinois fucking voted for. A doddering old man who is unable or unwilling to accept that the fucking work that he's done in D.C. for 50 years, he's been there forever, has been a failure.
Way to go, Mallory. I think she's from Illinois.
And legalizing cannabis, I hate to smack you around, Michael Redfern, but legalizing cannabis is also not, I mean, it is a solution, but it is not a prime solution, because in all of the places, in every one of the places, California, Colorado, Vermont, all the big places, Massachusetts, all the places that have legalized, not medicinal, but recreational marijuana, They have huge fucking black markets because the process of legalization in California and Colorado, for example, it's a fucking 90% tax. So the people that can't afford the legal product still go to the black market to buy the cheaper product.
Yep. You're right.
So again, I'm not demonizing cannabis. I'm just saying that the solutions that are on the table for legalizing those products are
not valid yet.
I mean, the states are using the legalization as a reason to tax the wazoo out of the product. The last study that I read, they said that 60% of all the products in legal vape dispense or legal pot dispensaries in California, 60% of the products on the shelves were illegal products that were not grown on legal places, were not bought from legal sources,
legal farms, yeah,
whatever. The 60% were still fucking illegal products. So, I just plain old blanket legalization is not going to work unless you fucking use your brain and don't fucking tax it 90%.
Right.
Any regulation needs to be fair and reasonable, but nobody has instituted fair and reasonable.
Nope.
So, anyhow, I think the rest of this is just
some of those restrictions have worked. Restrictions on marketing to kids.
No, we're fine with that.
It's no accident that the vaping companies are buying. I'm sorry, that the tobacco companies are buying the vaping manufacturers because they know how it's done. They can market in the way that they did with Joe Camel. And
Raj is saying in Washington State, their black market is mostly gone. I can promise you that that's not true. I have friends that live there in Seattle, and they don't buy their pot from a legal place.
No.
So, yeah, I mean,
I'm calling BS on that, too.
It's still there. You may not see it, but it is still there, and it is probably a multi-million-dollar black market in just Seattle.
It's cartel. It's cartel owned. Yeah.
Probably it's got a friendlier face in Washington State than it does in, say,
Colorado,
Juarez, but it's still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably like the if you ever watched the movie The Gentleman, I love that movie. It's a Guy Ritchie movie. But yeah, I love that movie because all of those Guy Ritchie like crime movies like Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and even The Gentleman are all they're all about drug culture, but they're all about like pot. They're
drug.
The mild, and it's hilarious. They're all hilarious movies. I love those movies. But anyway, yeah, I think that's enough of this nonsense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Tony did an incredible job. I'm not criticizing Tony at all. There were a couple points that I wish that he had made. I think Brian King could have defended himself better.
Yep.
And he didn't. I mean, I'm not rooting for the FDA in this, but at least the guy could have grown a set of balls and fucking defended himself a little bit.
He could have hit the. He
could have justified. Well, we did have 27 million applications, and some of those applications are 300,000 pages long, so it does take time. You're talking about the burden of proof, but the problem is we have to read those fucking applications to see if they met that burden of proof. You dumbass.
Right. You're right.
But he didn't. He didn't do that. Nope. So it is what it is. But hey, since we talked about in that video, and Brian King is talking about the things that they have done, and we did kind of allude to this. Here is the FDA press release on boosted e-liquid. So it says here, FDA and DOJ action leads to entry of consent decree of permanent injunction against manufacturer of authorized e-cigarettes. So, and Fig said this earlier in the chat, that Boosted was one of the top 50 e-liquid brands. Which, I've known Corey since probably 2015. and his wife, who's a fucking attorney. She's a killer, I'll tell you that. But anyway, so they're saying that the manufacturer continued to sell unauthorized products despite previous warnings it was breaking the law. So on June 14th, is what it's dated. It says here, on June 12th, 2024, the United States District Court for the District of Colorado entered a consent decree of permanent injunction against Boosted LLC, who also does business as Boosted E-Juice, Boosted, and Live Boosted, and Corey Vigil, owner of Boosted LLC. The consent decree prohibits Boosted LLC and Mr. Vigil from manufacturing, selling, or distributing any new tobacco products until they meet certain requirements. According to the complaint filed by the U.S. Department of Justice on FDA's behalf, defendants were previously warned that they were in violation of federal Food and Drug Cosmetic Act's pre-market review requirements for manufacturing, selling, distributing new tobacco products by failing to first obtain marketing authorization from the FDA. The agency's warnings noted that continued violations could lead to further action, including an injunction. FDA remains steadfast in our work to enforce the law, especially after we've given a crystal clear warning and explanation of what firms need to do to comply, said Dr. Brian King, blah, 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 blah. Those who flout the law are responsible for the consequences, and we are committed to using the full force of our authorities to hold them accountable. So apparently they were selling Boosted before, Boosted was being sold in vape shops and online probably, and had not been given marketing orders or had been denied marketing orders. And FDA decided that they would slap somebody around, and they have given crystal clear instructions on what to do to get your product in compliance, which is a fucking lie. They have not told anybody what they need to do to get their PMTA in order.
Nope. Only Juul.
They didn't even do that, but Juul, like I said, was owned by Altria. Altria, the PMTA process is pretty much identical for combustible products and vaping products. So they've already jumped over those hurdles for new combustible tobacco products. So they just used the same roadmap that they used on their previous PMTAs for new cigarettes, and just followed that same map for building their PMTA for a vaping product. I mean, it is an unfair process when they have massive science centers, they have massive numbers of attorneys, they have people that have jumped through these hoops before, so they already know how to jump through those hoops again.
With a checkbook.
Well, that too. It doesn't hurt. In this case, to avoid litigation, the defendant signed a consent decree, which is a written agreement signed by a federal judge and entered as a court order. Under the consent decree, the defendants have agreed not to manufacture, sell, or distribute any new tobacco products until they meet certain requirements. These requirements include that the new tobacco product receive FDA marketing authorization, that FDA inspect the defendant's facility to determine compliance with the law, and that FDA notify defendants in writing that they appear to be in compliance with the law. This case represents the ongoing collaboration among federal partners, which will continue and expand our FDA and DOJ newly announced task force that was only announced 2 weeks ago prior to this hearing this week. This is an attempt by FDA to show how successful their new task force is. We've already busted Boosted. So look, we're already doing something, Congress. Look, we already did something. Leave us alone. Don't call us back to the hill again, because we may not show up.
Give us money.
Yeah. So this case represents the ongoing collaboration, blah, 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 to address unauthorized e-cigarettes in the United States. This is the 8th time the FDA and DOJ have initiated injunction proceedings. The first of which occurred in October of 2022 to enforce the FDA, blah, 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 blah.
8th time in 8 years.
So yeah, again, this is just like what politicians do. They stand up on stage and say, "Look what I've done. I I saved your children this week. Look what I did. I mean, this is the same thing when they do this, just to show that, hey, you know what, you should reelect me because I did this for you.
God,
that's what that is. I just, I
did this for you, Papa Joe.
Mm-hmm. So hey, you know what time it is? We can't skip this. We really.
The vape cats.
We really should, because our very good friend Peggy is going to watch the replay, and she's going to want to see.
I have a vape cat running around here somewhere.
We've done some tweet stuff because that's where all the I just have a couple tweets since Kevin's not here and you didn't send me any tweets. I'm just going to do my 4. So
okay. That's fair.
Shame on you for not doing your job and participating. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's time for the Vape Cat. It's time for the Vape Cats of the Week.
So we haven't heard from Derek Yock in a while, but we love Derek Yock. I don't care what anybody says. He's our friend. We love him. The overwhelming evidence that tobacco harm reduction saves lives and that combustion kills, not nicotine, is being undermined by academics and philanthropists who rarely declare their conflicts of interest as they attack those advancing better health. And if you click on this, that opens up a study by the Lancet. And it says, tobacco industry conflicts of interest cannot go undeclared in scientific publishing. Authors reply, written by Derek Yock. So I'm not going to read it, but I'm just, I'm just letting you know that there is, you should click on the tweet and
I'll click on it. I'm going to read it.
Yeah. And also in our effort, a lot of times I criticize not Kevin, for sharing tweets from our friends and people that are inside of our circle that we already love. I did want to give some kudos to our friend Dr. Colin Mendelsohn from Australia, who is at the Global Forum of Nicotine in Warsaw, Poland. He was given the Michael Russell Award for 2024. The award honors someone who made a substantial and innovative contribution to the science and understanding of safer nicotine products and tobacco harm reduction. So everybody put our hands together for our friend Colin. Woo! I need a sound effect of people cheering, but and then this week I got followed by this guy named Fat Jax.
Huh.
And then he turned around and tweeted something that I really liked.
Huh.
He says it can be compared to water. Excess water will kill you. Excess nicotine will kill you. Vapes do not provide excess nicotine. Your kitchen tap could provide excess water or vitamin D. And man dies of vitamin D overdose.
Ooh.
And he links to an article. So, yes, nicotine is bad for you if you overdose. But otherwise, it's pretty safe. And then Neo here, I will show this one. Neo has a 7-step program here. Step 1, take nicotine for concentration. Step 2, become an inventor. Step 3, invent something useful to society. Step 4, make a couple thousand. Step 5, go to the casino. Step 6, put everything on a round of blackjack. And step 7, you're rich. I don't think it's that simple, but okay, Jack. We'll go with, or okay, Neo. We'll go with that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm clicking on everything multiple times and it's still not clicking. Still not taking some. But there's that. Oh. Yeah, I wanted to show this. So my friends in Maryland, if there's anybody in Maryland, it says here, let's go ahead and share the screen. That beginning on July 1st, tobacco tax rates on cigarettes and other tobacco products will increase, as will the sales and use of tax rate on electronic smoking devices. The tax on a pack of cigarettes sold in Maryland will jump from $3.75 to $5 for packs with more than 20 cigarettes. The tax rate will increase from 0.175 cents per cigarette to 0.25, so a quarter per cigarette. For other tobacco products, not including pipe tobacco and cigars, the rate on July 1 will jump from 53% to a wholesale price of the 60% of the wholesale price. The sales and use of tax for electronic smoking devices, including liquid vaping liquid in a container of more than 5 ml, will increase from 12% to 20%.
Ooh,
that's an 8% increase.
That's a dirty word.
Yeah. So if you're in Maryland, be aware that your fucking e-liquid is going to be substantially more expensive.
That's stupid.
Yeah. And let's see.
I hate taxes.
Me too. Let me okay. Oh, there's a commercial. We got a video here.
Okay.
Another video. Oh, you know what? I'm not even going to play this. It's 52 minutes long and I don't feel like it.
Ooh.
But the link is in the show notes, boys and girls. Well, look at that, boys and girls. That's all of it. I said 2.5 hours. It took 3 hours.
Has it been 3?
It's been 3 whole hours.
Wow.
So, I know that you've been building over there and not really watching.
No, I'm listening and watching. Much. Yeah, I've been watching and listening.
You've been building something over there. What have you been building?
I'm just cleaning up and stuff. Putting some RDAs on.
Stuff. Oh
up.
Damn. Yeah, I've been getting all sorts of like herbal, anti-FDA, like, here's my herbal cure for 100 different health condition posts in Facebook during the show, and I've been doing my best. Even I really don't give a fuck about Facebook. I've been doing my best to go through and get rid of them, but yeah, they're gone good now. But it was a little frustrating. Nobody ever posts over there, and now all of a sudden, yep. But Michael Redford saying boo. Boo. Yeah, I'm gonna go over here and watch the Venture Brothers for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go to sleep. Yeah, it's midnight.
I don't blame you.
But
I would if I were you.
Yeah. So how have you? Oh, by the way, I don't know for a fact, but I may or may not be here next Friday.
Cool.
Because Dr. Glover may or may not be in town by next Friday. So if she comes in on Saturday, then I'll be here on Friday. If she comes on Friday, we're gonna go out to dinner, and we may live stream from the phone from dinner or something, but it won't be a full show.
I may be in Houston for the vape conference. I got an invite from.
There's a vape conference in Houston?
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
A vape conference?
Well, it's an alternative conference. Yeah.
I didn't get invited to anything in Houston.
I got airfare tickets.
Fudge them.
Yeah.
Screw them. If they're not inviting me, I don't care.
Yeah.
I've never an alternative. Is it like a pot thing or something?
No, it's like
Is it like a convention? Is it like the weed cup or something?
No, it's like I think it's nicotine alternatives. Some type of a convention conference.
Well, you should go and get me some free nicotine pouches while you're there. Just
yeah, I'll send you.
Say my friend Patrick in Corpus Christi, who does Son of Liberty Radio, he needs some new nicotine pouch products, and you didn't invite him, even though he has like dozens of fans.
Yeah,
dozens of
fans.
Hey, the replays don't do bad. It's the fucking
the lives.
And I wouldn't want there to be 500 people that I'm trying to watch in the chat room.
No,
but the replays do pretty good. So yeah, especially over here on the
Rumbles.
On the Rumbles. The Rumbles is I get more views on Rumble than I do on YouTube now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, how would you like to say goodnight to our friends?
Drive
Not
fast. Drive fast.
Drive fast? No, then you'll be. Are you looking for customers?
No.
I almost took out a motorcycle guy today because he was being stupid.
Drive fast and wear a blindfold.
And I was giving him all the space in the world, and he was just being stupid. And I was just like, "You're gonna get hurt if you keep doing what you're doing."
Murder cycle.
He was being an idiot. I used to ride when I was younger. My wife won't let me have a bike now, but I was always intelligent when I rode. I had to be, guys on motorcycles have to be more vigilant about because the cars don't give a fuck about you.
Nope.
But some of these idiots on bikes think that since they can do 95 miles an hour and they can zoom in and out of traffic, that they should, instead of being, a little bit more cautious and patient.
Terrible idea.
My theory is that my destination will be there when I get there. And I need to be more aware of where these idiots in the big cars are. And the semi trucks, they can't even fucking see you.
No.
But
no.
Anyway, we love you. We will see you maybe in 7 days. If not, Kevin will be back in 14. He'll be back next week, and we may not even have a show, depending on what's going on. But he might get an extra week off. But we'll see you when we see you. Keep an eye on Twitter because, there's lots of opportunities in Twitter. I am going to cut a video of that doctor, and I'm going to put on screen the conclusions of all the fucking studies comparing vaping with NRT, FDA approved NRT, and say safe and effective ? Maybe safe, but not very effective.
No.
And we need a meme of the Cheesecake Factory so that we can talk about flavors with these idiots that keep talking about flavors are only for, children.
I got you.
Only for children. But, all right, we'll see ya. Let's go out with the consummatu or the declaration because I love the declaration. Good night. Bye.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new gods for their future security.